in Kenya when I was about 5 or 6 years old.
Okay.
And we were in this wildlife park in a grey Morris Minor. This rhino started chasing us. There's me and my sister in the back seat.
Right.
It was like something out of Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
We were turning around saying, "Believe it, Dad. Just put your foot down, Dad. We're in a field. Put your foot down." This rhino was chasing us.
One from Mark here in Derby. Went on holiday for our first romantic holiday to Judicial years ago. Decided to take my girl into a petting zoo. I got a bag of food to feed the animals. A giant goat then went for me, putting his front legs over my shoulders and proceeding to headbutt me over a fence into one of the pens, covering me in the food and making my nose bleed. I got out of the pen, then the goat and all his mates attacked me again, sending me running and screaming like a girl out of the zoo, with my girlfriend rolling with laughter on the floor.
A tarantula climbed up the bottom of the bed on the sheet.
Yeah.
And it walked all the way up. It's eyeball to eyeball.
Wow.
And I thought to myself, what am I going to do when it climbs over my face? But then a miracle happened. It raised its 2 front legs and waved them around. And then it turned around and walked down the side of the sheet.
Boris Johnson been attacked by an ostrich. The former PM was enjoying a safari trip with his family when the bird leaned into his car and went oi oi and pecked his hand. In footage shared online, he quickly jerked from the ostrich. Don't dirty minds away from the ostrich, and shouted, "Oh, Christ, get hell," before driving off. And so I just set it out there. Have you been attacked by an animal? When I was about 7, says Trevor Jenkins, on holiday in Spain in the 70s, a monkey pulled my long hair. It was long because it was the 70s. I was in floods of tears. And as a family car drove out the car park, an elephant ripped off the car mirror. We got the message. Spanish animals aren't to be trusted. Jeremy, Brittany here from the United States. I was spurred by a rooster in my right foot a few years ago. Spurred? How do you get spurred by a rooster?
One here from Dan in Hampshire. Morning, Mike. Is an Aussie that has been dive bombed by our version of the Magpie, which is much bigger.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Good morning and welcome. It's 3 minutes past 6. I'm Mike Graham. It is Wednesday, the 13th of August, and I have to say, it is a very auspicious day. It's very exciting, not just because the news is incredible, as it always is every single morning that we do this show in the world of common sense, because Jeremy Kyle is here. Jeremy Kyle, very good morning to you.
Very good morning to you. We're fine, but
yeah.
we went for dinner.
We had a bit of dinner last night,
yeah.
and we were home before the cock crowed, as it were.
Well, I believe we were.
And so we went up that late, and we spent quite a bit of money, which I seem to have pocketed most of. Unfortunately.
MG ended up with a bill.
I got the bill. I don't know why. I can't explain it. Anyway, listen, we've got loads to talk about this morning, right? Jeremy's here for the hour. We're going to go through the papers. We're going to look at all the stories. It's all about migrants, by the way. Front page of The Sun. Taunts of the TikTok migrants. Migrants are now coming here and literally taking the mickey out of Britain. You know, going, yeah, this is so easy. This is how you do it. Literally filming themselves as they come across the channel. It's amazing, isn't it?
I mean, this guy got 1 million hits on YouTube.
Right.
And you can see on the front page of The Sun, he says, "Come with me, I'll show you how to do it." And literally ends up in the Crown Plaza Hotel, I think, somewhere in Heathrow, in the evening, and then holds a live Q&A where he says to people, just ask me how easy it is to come to Great Britain. Yeah. This is just, I mean, again, you wake up this morning and you go, why am I even going to work?
I know. It's like, come to Britain, ask me how. It's one of those, isn't it? Front page of The Times. Channel boat migrants arriving at record speed. This is not because they're coming really quickly or anything, I'm thinking. It's because they're coming in such big numbers. By the way, look at the sun out there.
What a wonderful... The house is arriving.
Wonderful?
Look at it.
Looks fantastic.
Morning.
We've got also on the front of the Daily Mail, we got Jackie Smith yesterday, who used to be in the government of Tony Blair, smashing the gang's latest, they say. It's not our fault.
No.
Ministers tried to dodge the blame yesterday after the small boat migrants reached 50,000. That's what we said yesterday.
Is it right to say that that is a figure reached quicker than by, and not sticking up for them, by Sunak and Bojo? And this is the man who said, I'm going to smash the gangs.
Exactly.
Now, apparently, there are more gangs, more migrants, and it's not their fault.
48% increase on last year. Absolutely horrendous. A picture of all these men running running through the water, the shallows, to get to Britain. It is quite a chilling image, that, smashing the gowns laces. Look at that picture. You've got these people running. They're clearly from places like Eritrea, from places like, I don't know, Sub-Saharan Africa, Sudan, Afghanistan. I mean, these are not people we want in this country. You know, absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, listen, we got more of that. Plus, on the front page of the Daily Express, you'll like this one, Jezza. Record 8 million people on universal credit. 8 million people, right? Steep rising claimants driven by those who are no longer required to work.
Do this on drive time. The minute you talk about this, people will go, oh, completely want to say it. I'm sure you'll agree. Genuinely disabled, generally mentally ill, happy to pay my tax and happy to say that we should have a society to help those. But out of 8 million, I reckon half of them are dodgers and gaming the system. And we need to make sure that... It's ridiculous, man. The bill is huge. It's ridiculous.
And finally, families face fresh inheritance tax grabs. If you have actually worked really hard, if you have managed to put some money away and you'd like to give it to your children and you'd like to give it to your wife after you die, I'm afraid they're going to tax you 40%. What an absolute bunch of, and I use this word advisedly, scumbags. That's especially for you, Keir Starmer. It's 6 minutes past 6. This is Morning Glory. See that? It's almost as though I knew it was going to end. What are we going to do? Listen, ridiculous, isn't it? Right? This picture, which is going to haunt everybody, is on the front page of pretty much every single paper. You see these people, and it's like the picture in northern France running into the shallows, right? Near Gravelines, I think you pronounce it, near Dunkirk. Dunkirk, right? A famous place where our forefathers went and rescued us from the Nazis, trying to get a boat to England. 500 made the crossing on Monday.
If you look at that picture, and I hate this newspaper with a passion, The Guardian. For to be on the front page of The Guardian tells you that finally even the left are waking up to the fact that this. If you look at that image, whatever paper you read this morning, the looks on these people's faces, to me, and that doesn't look like fear. No. It doesn't look like they're running away from a war-torn country. No. They're goading each other, they're smiling, and they're looking forward to it. And I say it again and again, buddy, I think that when we were in a different position in this country, people weren't aware of it. Now they're going, hold on a minute, my bills are through the roof. I can't even survive. I can't go on holiday. I'm struggling. And these buggers are getting in. It is absolutely, it is appalling, and the British public ain't going to accept it. No. And I don't understand how it's so difficult.
Did you see what happened yesterday in Portugal? A bunch of people, and you know the Algarve, as I do. We go down and play golf quite a bit. They arrived off a boat, landed in the Algarve, somewhere near Faro, walked onto a beach. They were immediately arrested, immediately put into a truck and told, you're going straight back to North Africa. Not even going to be processed, not even going to be considered for entry to Europe.
You're not coming.
You're just not getting anywhere. That's what we need to do. Just put them immediately into a truck or something.
I hear every day, oh, it's important that we in the United Kingdom look great. Actually, it's really, really important you look after your own people who, by the way, are really struggling. And when you say that to people, when you say that to the left, they go, they don't know what it's like to struggle. Well, go north of Watford Gap, my love, or wherever you are, and go and talk to genuine people, because they're up to the back teeth with living their lives and seeing this. It's appalling, Mikey. I mean, honestly... I genuinely don't know what is going to happen, but something is going to give, mate. Something's definitely going to give.
Well, look at the spread inside of the Sun. Exclusive influencer breezes across the border. English Channel Saturday morning. Tell all your friends to come over to the UK. You really won't have any problems. Ha ha. And he's got pictures of himself on a boat with life jackets provided by the French, by the way. And then on Sunday, he's in the Crown Plaza at Heathrow. My wish was to come to this hotel. Welcome to London. It's the best place. He's got nice pictures of his pillows, his bedside table, his lamp, his view out the window. Just incredible, isn't it?
I think it's unbelievable. It's great work by The Sun. I mean, you know, their headline, Britain's Broken Borders, is absolutely spot on. Again, I go back to it. I mean, look, I hear that, you know, everybody's got this problem and, you know, it's not our fault, it's the last government's fault, said Jackie Smith last time. Somebody has to have the ability to go. Do you know? I mean, listen, you heard what I mean, you might think I'm mad. It'll take me 30 seconds. I would get the biggest liner that's been decommissioned. I would sort it out. I would crack train 2,000 people who could process, genuinely. I would put the Royal Navy in the Channel, the first boats that came. I wouldn't let people set foot. I would put them on that boat and process them like the Portuguese in 24 hours. And what I would do is I'd build a detention centre somewhere like the Orkney Islands, and I'd show you that you ain't going to end up in the Crown Plaza in Heathrow. You're going to end up with a billet somewhere, with not any trappings, because very soon that will get back to everybody else,
no
which is
bedside
England.
table.
No.
No pillows.
No Wi-Fi.
No Wi-Fi. No view out the window.
My wish was to come to this hotel. What about the homeless veterans I see every day on the streets of Great Britain?
It's
terrible,
absolutely shocking.
Terrible.
Yvette Cooper, though, is the Home Secretary, right? Now,
Mrs. Balls?
Mrs. Balls, Yvette Cooper. She was on with us last week.
Yeah.
Saying,
was she?
Not with us, but I mean, you know, we played this video saying that she's going to give us regular updates, right? Have a look at this.
We'll provide regular updates for the public at every stage. That's why I'm confirming today that the pilot has now started and the first migrants who arrived on the small boat are now in detention. The transfers to immigration removal centres are underway as we speak, so we won't provide operational details at this point that criminal gangs can simply use and exploit.
So that was on Friday of last week, right?
Yeah.
It's now Wednesday, right? We haven't had any updates since then, so we've had no update on the people that they've supposedly detained, right? This guy has come in from Saturday into Sunday. He hasn't been detained.
And we know all about him because he's photographed it.
Because he's photographed it and he's put it on TikTok.
If you look at her, genuinely, no, don't be disrespectful.
Yeah.
She, to me, doesn't even look like she believes what she's saying herself.
No.
And why has it taken a year to suddenly go...
BS.
Crap. Yeah. Why has it taken a year? It's starting now. You said it was going to start the day you actually got to... Oh, man.
I know. It's completely hopeless. Here's Jackie Smith, right? She was apparently in the last Labour government when Tony Blair was around, right? Do you remember her?
Isn't she the one whose husband got...
husband charged for the porn films, and she also kept flipping her house backwards and forwards.
She what?
Kept flipping her house backwards and forwards so that she could charge for the barbecue set that she bought for the house in Birmingham, and then she pretended to be living in a room in her sister's place, which was her primary residence for a while, so that she could claim mortgage relief on the house in Birmingham, and so it went on.
And he tried to get relief on his porn.
He did get some relief on that. Yeah, absolutely right. Now she's a baroness in the House of Lords, and she's still a minister. Here's what she said yesterday. It's great.
This is a problem that has. Up to this point, we haven't managed to tackle in terms of the numbers who are coming here. But it is a completely legitimate claim to say that's because what is happening is the result of the last government that chose to focus on gimmicks through the Rwanda scheme that returned 4 volunteers and
but it hadn't started. The Rwanda scheme hadn't started, but
it had, and it returned 4 people, and it cost £750 million. And what the last government hadn't done was to take the sort of powers that we've taken to get to the criminals who are responsible for this. You're right, internationally, which is why, as well, we've been willing to work with the French, with the Germans in a way that the last government wasn't willing or wasn't able to.
So we've given 770 million to the French, who have done the square root of bugger all.
Yeah.
Nothing.
What powers, by the way?
Right.
Sorry, Jackie. I mean, I don't mean to
Jackie.
Sorry, Jackie. Jackie with the QU.
With the QU, yeah.
What's Jackie with the QU?
Imagine meeting Jackie
I've
in
met
the
her.
old...
I've met her.
No, but I mean in a disco in Essex or something.
Like Jack.
And it's Jackie with the QI.
What, dancing around a handbag with the friends?
Exactly.
The thing is, and this is probably going to sound really... Actually, I don't give a toss. When you see... That's a government minister.
Yeah.
She, again, doesn't look like she's A, got a clue, or B, believes anything that she's saying.
No.
It's extraordinary.
It really
All they
is.
do is the sound bites. We've taken... Well, you haven't, have you? And Rwanda, by the way, yes, it didn't work, and they should have implemented it sooner. It was, in fact, an idea.
Right.
One of the papers this morning, and I'm not going to... It says, Labour... Oh, it's in the Sun. The Labour are considering Rwanda Part 2. Have you seen this? Labour no to Rwanda number 2.
Yeah.
But Labour are now saying maybe we should process these people offshore.
Trump's sending people to Rwanda, as is Denmark, as is Sweden, as has in the past the UN, and let's not forget, Visit Rwanda is
on the Arsenal
slogan
football shirt.
on the Arsenal football shirt.
Can I just say about the Orange Man, baby, because I say this every day on Drive, I'm going to say it on breakfast. I don't agree with everything he does, but if you look at the figures, in America, on the border, January, February and March last year, 380,000. This year, less than 500. Right. Whatever you think about him or ICE, it works. Do it.
Yeah, well,
do it.
The guy's a genius, as far as I'm concerned. Over in Crete, meanwhile, they've set up a detention centre in Crete. Guess how many boats have come to Crete in the last week?
None.
None, exactly right. Because they've gone, actually, you know what? If you land here, we're going to put you in a detention centre and take you straight back to North Africa.
Why don't we ask the Greeks?
Get nowhere
Why
near.
don't we say to the Greeks, can you tell us how to do this and you can have the Elgin marbles back?
Yeah, we could give them back. I don't care about the Elgin marbles.
I don't care about the marbles. I want to know how to... I don't believe there's a will to do it. We can sit here and we can joke. Look at that. Pictures you're showing. Let's just walk out to sea. Let's get... I mean...
It's a free-for-all. It's literally a free-for-all. Somebody said in the Daily Mail last week that at 7 o'clock in the morning over in Gravelines off the coast of Dunkirk...
You did that very well,
Gravelines. I don't know if that's the right way to say it.
I don't either.
He said it's literally like dinghy rush hour. They've got one dinghy after another. It's like a conveyor belt. You know, one arrives, a load of people get on it, goes off to Britain. Next one arrives. I mean, they're literally arriving every 5 minutes.
I have to tell you, a wonderful audience. I'm grateful to Mike because I was in Jersey a couple of weeks ago. I took a morning stroll, as you know, because I sent you a picture. And suddenly, from absolutely nowhere, 16 people in life jackets came in from the sea. And my sight's not great. And I said to Mike, Christ, it's happening in Jersey. It was, in fact, the banana boat that was taking people on rides. But I was for a moment slightly concerned that it was happening in Jersey.
You and Rupert Lowe, he reported some rowers.
That was very funny.
Right? He reported some rowers coming into the coast of
Great Yarmouth.
What's going on? How dare they come here? And it turned out they were just rowing.
Yeah,
you know.
but he actually reported it.
Did you love that thing last week, by the way? We might have to dig out the thing where Starmer goes to see those kids in the library, and I think it was on Friday, and he went up to this kid and he was like, "Have you got a song for me?" And he started playing "Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream." Right? It was brilliant.
Slightly worried about him saying to a child, "Have you got a song for me?" That doesn't quite sound right, does it?
No, it doesn't. It's good. Now, listen, here's what we're going to do. We're going to come back with a clip from Jeremy Kyle's very own show yesterday because he had a story about a migrant, a Nigerian, who was done for basically molesting a teenager in the sea. But he's OK. He's allowed to stay in the country. We'll get into that coming up after this.
When we actually look at the logistics and the technicalities of this plan, best case scenario, we will see 800 illegal migrants return to France. In return, of course, we get 800 back, and they are then a long-term cost that we have to deal with. But that is, if we're going to hit about 50,000 illegal boat crossings this year, which I think we are very likely to do so, then we're seeing about a 2% chance of individuals that are coming across the channel being those that are actually returned. This is a complete farce.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory. 18 minutes past 6. A very good morning to you. It is Wednesday, the 13th of August. The sun is up. The sky is blue. It's beautiful out there. It's going to be very, very warm. Jeremy Kyle is here. It's a rip-roaring front page.
See, it's like
special.
Tides.
It is.
It's like migrant tides, rip-roaring. Unfortunately, there isn't a rip tide. By the way, is it going to be hot again today?
It's going to be hot, yeah. It's going to be hot until about Friday, when it's going down to about 26, 27. So over 30. Yesterday was really boiling. I was on the tube yesterday. Crikey. It was
40 degrees on the tube, but by the evening, drinking that wine, we were all right. We're a little bit fuzzy, but we're getting there today.
You'll get there, absolutely right. Now, we've got a voice note from Andy on the 50,000 migrants.
Morning, Mike. Morning, Jezza. Got the dream team on again today. It's Andy from Birmingham. I'm just driving down the bloody M6 again, going to work to pay all my taxes. Just paid £2.5 grand to them. Wonder where that's going to go. You wake up these mornings, don't you, and it's a beautiful day, but then you get filled with dread because you know what's coming over the channel. No one's stopping it, are they? The only way they're going to stop this, mate, is stop paying them benefits and stop putting them up hotels. Get to Salisbury Plain, build them a massive camp there, put them in there, they'll stop coming. Job done. I'll offer my services for nothing to do it. Anyway, lads, have a great day.
These guys, see, people like that every single morning.
Life and soul of this country.
Life and soul of this country. He's out there, he's working, he's grafting, he's paying his taxes, and all of that money, and I said this in July last month, you know, I had to pay a bucket load of money to the Exchequer, HMRC, you know, because I'm self-employed, and I have to spend, you know, a month in July coming up with a load of money to go, oh, I've got to give you my 6 monthly stipend, you know, which is what I'm going to pay you for tax, and it's quite a few thousand quid. And where's it all going? He's going to pay for these.
And the reality of Andy is the very reason why you and I do this show, because he is exactly right. Out of bed, kisses his kids goodbye and his missus this morning in his lorry from 5:30 a.m. He'll work 12 hours and he's sitting in his cab right now thinking, so let me get this straight. Never broken the law, never had a hand out, pay my taxes, do everything right, and I'm being treated like an idiot. I would say one thing about his plan. The only benefit in building a camp on Salisbury Plain, many of these people are apparently, well, all of them are apparently escaping war-torn countries.
Oh, yeah.
No, they're not. That's a complete pile of tosh. Maybe on Salisbury Plain we could sort of send a few things flying over and make them realise what it was like. I wouldn't put them on Salisbury Plain. No disrespect to the Orkney Islands. Billets, midges, heat, cold, not nice stuff. The message undoubtedly, MG, would get back. Oh, by the way, England isn't as good. I've got a better idea. We're soft as anything. That's what we are.
There's another island up there. Do you know what it's called?
The Isle of Skye.
Muck.
Isle of Muck?
Muck. There's an island called Muck.
There's not.
Put them there. There is.
The Isle of Muck?
Isle of Muck.
Don't you with us, always. Don't with us, we'll send you to Muck. If you're with us, we'll send you to Muck.
Careful how you say it.
No.
It is the Isle of Muck. Now, let's go back to last week, because I know you're going to enjoy this. This is Keir Starmer trying to talk to some children. And this is the song they came up with. Check it out.
Brilliant.
Hello.
So what are you playing? You're playing...
Roll your boat.
OK. Shall we have a go? Are you doing that from memory?
Oh, yeah. Purple.
So C and then G. So you've got C and G.
So just here, this chord should have been a C. So
listen to music, and I mean, it's a big part of my life in the sense I love it.
Oh, give me a C.
Give me a C. Can you imagine him being, like, you know, like the fire top? Give me a C.
No, I can't do that. That would be wrong,
Give me a T. Give me a W. Yes. Pardon?
Yes. I mean, ridiculous.
He doesn't have any social skills, does he?
And also, I said this to somebody the other day. I was doing a podcast with a guy called Andrew Gold, and you've done it already.
Did you do it?
I did it the other day.
Brilliant.
And I said, you know, for a man who's got children, we've all got kids, right? You know how to talk to children. He doesn't know how to talk to children.
Are they his?
Well, maybe they're not.
I don't know. DNA test.
Crikey. Get the DNA. Call for the DNA test.
Join me after the break. We'll do that. We're coming back.
Let's have a look at Rachel Reeves. She was talking yesterday, right, about unemployment, because we've got a front page here. Where is it? In which it says, front page of the Daily Express, I think. 8 million people now on universal credit. Steep rising claimants driven by those not required to work. And according to the Daily Mail, I think there's 1 million more people unemployed than there were this time last year. Here's what Rachel Reeves has got to say.
That employment, since I became Chancellor last year, is 384,000 higher, so 384,000 more jobs in the economy than there were just over a year ago when I came into office. And although the number of people who are unemployed increased slightly on the quarter, the number of people who are economically inactive actually fell by much more, I think 3 times more, than the increase in unemployment.
What's she talking about? She says that 380,000 more people are working, right? According to the
And then she
Mail,
said, but the unemployment figures have risen.
Yeah. According to the Mail, 200,000 more people have joined the dole since the election.
Yes.
Right? 1 million more Britons have been signed off work for good under Labour, saying they don't ever have to work at all.
Oh, that's that category.
8 million people now basically on universal credit. I mean, there's a whole. I mean, that's what is it? Like a sixth of the entire.
I did this. We saw this drop yesterday, and we were on this. And I said at the beginning of the show, I think unless you qualify this, people miss the point.
Yeah.
For me, really happy to pay my stamp, as I'm sure you are and Andy are, to help people who can't help themselves, right? But when I was a kid, and I'm 60 now, there were 2 choices: you went to work or you went to college, right?
Yeah.
Now I don't care what anybody tells me. There are three choices. Go to work, go to college, sign on.
Right.
These systems are so flawed, like the migrant thing, that people are taking advantage. Are you telling me that 8 million people are mentally ill or physically disabled? No. Oh, I'm anxious. There must be jobs they can do, mate. And what's happened is that figure's even more interesting. 46% of that 8 million are in a category that says you don't ever have to work again. So what are you saying to people? From whatever age, just don't you worry about it, we'll wipe your backside. Rubbish.
How can you go through life not wanting to work at all? I mean, what would you do?
But I also think this generation don't have what we have. Look at us this morning. I don't know. I don't understand it. We wanted to go out to work, but why would you want to make money or be successful when a government in this country today says, we don't want you to be successful, we're going to tax you to the hill? Well, if you say to a generation, sit on your backside and we'll pay, you've got no chance. Yeah, I know. I'd make it harder for them, sorry.
It is absolutely ridiculous. Let's have a look back at what Keir Starmer said about Rachel Reeves, because, of course, as we know, she was the first woman Chancellor. And
they sound very similar if you listen. Their voices I think they could be the same person.
Well, they talk by the same voice coach. It's that woman that came to visit him on Christmas Eve a couple of years ago. Anyway, have a look.
It will also be the first budget delivered by a woman ever. That is a moment of pride. When Rachel Reeves stands up, she will be making history. And I can tell you, young women and girls across the country will be watching, they will look up, and they will notice.
And they'll say, Jesus Christ, she's useless.
No. See, the thing that he misses the fact about Richard III, who's awful, right? I don't care. She does. If you go to a picture of Rachel Reeves, she looks like Richard III.
Yeah.
Is people will look up, you idiot, Starmer, and go, so you have lied, again, because you've raised taxes, or you've raised council tax, or my energy bill's through the roof, or food's 3 times. Honestly, they
don't like it when you say he's lied, though, because they complain. Downing Street complains about me all the time.
Why?
Saying that they don't like it when I say that Keir Starmer's a liar.
Well, he has lied, because he said... Sorry, I don't want to upset your show. No. I thought he said there'll be no council tax.
He did say that.
Liar. I thought he said your energy bills are lower. Liar. I thought he said he'd smash the gangs. Liar.
He also said that the Chagos Islands deal would only cost $3.5 billion.
30 billion. Liar.
Exactly.
Sorry, Downing Street.
Sorry, guys.
Liar.
Brilliant. Now, let's talk about that story that you broke yesterday, because we got all the migrant stuff this morning. However, we got the Labour Party saying it's not our fault. Number of channel migrants hit 50,000. How about this for a story, right? A Nigerian migrant came to this country, goes to Bournemouth, where there are now 3, not 1, not 2, 3 hotels housing migrants, right? Bournemouth Beach has been taken over by migrants. If you go to Bournemouth, there's a pretty good chance that you might be molested by a migrant, as indeed was one young woman, by this guy, right? And what happened then?
So genuinely, in the middle of the show yesterday, and even I don't know if you got the clip, I can't even bring myself yesterday in court. This was in August 2022. Salman Iftiar or something like that. Anyway, thinks it's OK, he's been in the country a few days, to go up behind an 18-year-old who's with her friends, put his hands down the back of her tracksuit bottoms, bikini bottom, whatever it is. And his friend has to pull him off. He has no respect for her. I'll start with her. She told the court yesterday, he's ruined my life, I'm still traumatised, physically I'm traumatised, but actually mentally, I won't go out on my own.
Right.
A judge yesterday, oh God, please just try. A judge yesterday said that this was a mere aberration. It was out of character, and the reason that this gentleman was not being sent to jail was because of his difficult upbringing. I'm going to breathe.
So he doesn't go to jail?
No, wait, more than that. And he's now been granted indefinite leave to stay in the United Kingdom. Now, this is an absolute fact. This happened in August 2022. It's taken 3 years. Left-wing lawyers. The judge said this was a mere aberration. The judge said because of his upbringing, which says to every single person in this country, if you commit a crime or even if you sexually molest a girl, you can go, well, do you know what? I had a really bad upbringing. I'm sorry. It is a complete disgrace. The man should have been deported within a heartbeat. The other thing is, who is that judge? Has that judge got a teenage daughter? I live 20 miles from Bournemouth, right? I had a bloke on yesterday going... Actually, Mike Neville was saying, he lives in the New Forest. I have to tell my teenagers if they're going to Bournemouth to look over their shoulders. That's the country we live in. It's not right-wing... It's not a playbook to upset people. This guy is now walking the streets having abused an English girl. And I asked this question and I got into trouble, I suspect, or I will get into trouble. Two-tier justice? Can you imagine if the boot was on the other foot? It's disgraceful, mate.
And he's learned, basically, he can go back to Bournemouth every bleeding day and do exactly the same thing.
How bad is that?
We've got the clip from your show yesterday. Have a look.
He's also been granted indefinite leave
to remain in the United Kingdom. Now, as I draw breath on that, yeah, I can be told anything, and I can be sacked. I actually want to swear, and I don't want to. Where does? Brendan, I don't know what's happening, man. So sod the victim, right? Sod the fact this girl is ruined for life. Not only is he not going to jail, he's not even being deported.
You know...
I mean, that's Brendan O'Neill. It's incredible, isn't it? I mean, that is the reality of life in Britain under our judicial system, which still is riddled with these judges who think that, you know, let's be nice to these people who are coming here. Let's just treat them better than they treat us.
How do these judges... do we believe that it's... Love to know what the listeners think. Is this a directive from above? Do they go to some sort of judge school where they're told to disregard common sense and make decisions that the rest of us would find abhorrent? And for all the lefties who'll go, oh, this... No, all of you, right? Yeah. He sexually assaulted an 18-year-old girl and is now free to roam in this country.
And sexually assault another 18-year-old girl, probably, right?
And if you bring that up, you're told you're being very unfair. He's had a hard life. What does that say to all the people who've never broken the law and had an even worse life than this guy?
I know.
It's disgraceful, mate.
It's absolutely shocking. Coming up, we're going to talk about Prince Andrew. He's back in the papers again today. Apparently he's had a bit of a hissy fit because someone put a speed bump on that private road he drives around in Windsor. Doesn't like it very much. He's used the...
There's a hump in the road!
Disgraceful. My goodness me. It's 6:31. We'll be back after this.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory, 6:32. I'm Mike Graham. Jeremy Kyle is here. For some reason, I haven't got any messages coming through because I think I've done something wrong here. Let me say... Oh, here we are.
Oh, no, it's maybe because they don't like me.
No, here it is. Morning both, says Nan in Wales. Jackie Smith, yes, it bloody well is your fault. Besides the useless Tories, it was your government that cancelled Rwanda, your leader that fought for human rights for migrants, fought for benefits for migrants, etc. I can go on, so sod off with the finger pointing and do your effing job.
Well done, Nan.
Well done, Nan in Wales. Morning, Mike and Jeremy. If that idiot Rishi hadn't bottled it, Rwanda would have worked. Well, that's true. And morning both, says Peter in Croydon. These boat crossings are not sustainable. Something has to give. Reform should quickly be prepared for government. My instincts are never wrong. Rodney and Labour are finished. Rodney, of course, is Keir Starmer. Rodney, you plonker. You know that Rodney's his middle name.
No, it's get lost.
It's actually his middle name. Rodney.
Sir Keir Rodney Starmer.
That's why we call him Rodney. Yeah.
That's brilliant.
I think it might be his dad's name or something.
He was a toolmaker.
I'm not joking. His name is Rodney.
His name is Rodney. That's my favourite moment of the day.
Isn't it great? And let's talk about Prince Andrew, because he used to be his neighbour.
Well, I used to live
in Windsor.
I lived on the Long Walk in Windsor for 7 years, moved to the coast, but, all of this, extraordinary. He's just... he was the Queen's favourite. I won't go into why, because that would be wrong.
Would it? Can you give us a hint as to why?
He was always treated better than the others, and his mistakes were always...
Is it because he was the younger brother of Charles or something?
Why don't we do the I couldn't possibly comment? You asked me a question. Let's do that, yeah.
So, the Queen had a favourite son,
yes.
And his name was Andrew.
Yes.
So she didn't really like the other son, Charles, or Edward, but she liked Andrew better.
Yes.
And was there an incident that made her want to like him better?
I couldn't possibly comment.
Was he ever engaged in anything that he would be ashamed of? Well, we found out the other day.
To be honest,
I mean, we found out the other day that he lost his virginity at 11.
I know, that's
disgraceful.
I mean,
what about the woman? Presumably, she should be prosecuted, shouldn't she?
Yeah, I think slightly dodgy ground for you and I to get into, to be honest.
Okay, then.
Yeah.
We're not going to go anywhere on that.
No,
but still.
No, I will say this about him.
Okay.
He was her favourite. There have been many rumours over the years that he was her favourite and get away with him because of...
Something that happened?
No.
A relationship?
Maybe not to do with him. Anyway, we'll talk... Yes,
okay.
Good, yes.
Oh, what you mean, because he had a different father or something?
Oh, I couldn't possibly comment.
Crikey. Now we're talking.
Don't you remember in The Crown about Porchy? Lord Porchester, the racing manager.
I didn't watch The Crown.
He and the Queen were very... No, but listen, I was the Queen's biggest...
Yeah.
Whatever, but this guy seemed to get away with
She did love the
under his
racing.
mum. She loved the racing.
Yeah.
And by the way,
spent
can
a lot
I
of
just
time-
say, when I look at the monarchy nowadays,
Yeah.
I was really angry the other day, genuinely. Did you see our king said during the Macron visit, we've got no borders? And do you know what I said? So if you got no borders, you got no kingdom.
Yeah.
I don't need a king, and I'm a royalist through and through. Nobody will beat his mother.
No.
Quality, quality, quality.
The sooner we
He's
get
just
rid of him, the better.
He's a bit of an oik, Andrew. He's a bit of
He
a...
is. He's foul-mouthed. I mean, there's a piece in The Sun today.
It's great.
Andy gets the hump, right?
Yes.
Exclusive. Disgraced Duke's royal road rage. Apparently, he's upset because they put a speed bump.
What the bloody hell are you doing putting a hump in the road?
The quote is, what the are you doing now?
Nana'd like that.
Yeah.
By the way, why are they called sleeping policemen?
I don't know.
What?
Because I think the idea is it's supposed to slow you down. So
But why would a policeman be lying on a road?
Well, he wouldn't be, but the point is it's almost like having a policeman there with a radar gun, so it slows
One
you
of
down.
life's great unanswered questions, like what happens to your lap when you stand up?
Well, it's a very good one. It disappears, doesn't it?
Why is there only one Monopolies Commission? We can continue. I mean, it could go on all morning. He's... I mean, imagine being him. And by the way, don't get me wrong, I think the Epstein thing is his judgment.
Yeah.
There's a great story in Windsor when we lived there that there's a road called Andrews Close, and the residents have been up in arms for years wanting to close it. He's just no good, man.
Also, what does he do? Because he gets in his car, and we see occasional pictures of him, as we did the other day, and he just drives around the Windsor estate.
And then he goes for a ride.
I mean,
then he insults a few workmen, and then he goes home and rants.
And where he lives with his former wife, the Duchess of York, right?
So, yeah, that's...
Duchess of Pork, as used to be known.
Yes, she liked her toe. That's a weird relationship as well. I should feel quite sorry.
Did you ever read Johnny Bryant's book? There was some stuff in there that I've never recovered from, to be honest.
I don't think you could. Fergie's Fergie, though, isn't she?
Yeah.
I mean, she's Fergie.
She is.
I feel sorry. Do you know the only point about it is I feel sorry for the daughters increasingly. I mean, if you read about it, did he have 3,000 lovers or something?
Something like that.
I mean, that's extraordinary.
Well, he started at 11, so...
I will say this, though, and we'll talk about the Sussexes in a minute. He has got no hope when William becomes king. I don't know what it is about our king.
They're going to take his title
I don't know
away,
what it is about our king right now. I don't know whether his brother's got dirt on him. But he seems to never quite get to the point, does he, Charles, where he says, you're done. I mean, this guy's...
Well, we had the book that came out last week. It was serialised in the Mail, where he was described as a pretty oafish individual, where he had a go at somebody. He was in Northern Ireland at the royal estate there, and there'd been some sort of storm overnight, and he'd asked one of the footmen or something, you know, is everything all right? And the guy said, oh, well, there's been some damage done to the Queen Mother's tree. And he apparently looked at him and gave him a withering stare and said, do you mean Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother's tree? Because that's how you should refer to it. You effing imbecile. And then told him to get out of the room.
I'd probably have kicked him and said, listen, what's happened to your granny's bush is absolutely nothing to do. I mean, she paid for my education, by the way, so I'm a massive, massive fan of Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother. But that is...
Anyway,
he's just an idiot, man. Can we please talk about Meghan?
Yes, we've got a clip.
The trailer?
Yeah, we've got a clip.
Oh,
Hang on,
no.
let's have a look. Season 2, Netflix.
Oh,
Here we
God.
are.
Watch, can I just, before you play it...
Go on.
Look out for the pottery bit. There's a phallic, there's a sort of penis like this.
Right.
Have a watch.
OK.
I love the idea of spending time together and finding new ways to show people you care. Look at that.
Oh my gosh, I could do this every day.
Let's get creative and learn something new. Nicely done. I don't know what's happening. I'm so glad you came to show me how to do this. Is this working?
Today's about getting out of your comfort zone.
I have no idea where to start.
Everybody should have one of those at home.
You think so?
This is one of the most joyful days.
So comforting.
Very comforting.
Often what I want to make are things I want to share. This looks fantastic. There are easy ways to show up lovingly.
That actually is giving me goosebumps. That is so lovely.
Who's that? Sorry, I couldn't say the word and then he said it. Twitch.
Did you see the ghost moment with the pottery?
Yeah, the ghost thing where they're doing that, right?
Yeah. Well, is it more like that?
So, yeah.
I have to be
What's
really careful.
wrong with people?
My face was
How
like
is
yours.
that even a show?
Well, that's a show, and you just look at that and you go, you vacuous pain in the backside.
Right.
I don't even understand why that's on the television.
No, and Harry's not in it, apparently.
No, well, the really interesting point, Matt
remember
Wilkinson...
the last one, Matt Wilkinson, who we're going to get on later in the show, the last time they did anything, he sort of appeared, didn't he, at the end with a glass of Prosecco and, oh, hello, darling.
Token ginger.
Yeah, token ginger. We love a glass of Prosecco. But he doesn't appear to be in this one at all.
There are massive rumours, as you know. Kinsey was on with us last night, and Kinsey's our mate, and she will have you believe that the only reason Netflix have done this deal, which isn't an exclusive deal, it's first dibs, so if you make something with a production company, they have a chance to say yes or no. Right. They would be saying no. Is that they want to keep her on side, so they get the exclusive when the marriage breaks up.
Oh, really, yeah.
I told you the old man said to me 15 years ago, he'll come back to England with his ginger tail between his legs and she'll be in America. I think she's awful, man, I'm sorry. I don't understand it.
But I don't even get the premise. If I was to go, you and I were to go to some production company and say, this is the idea we've got for a TV show.
Yeah, but if we were slicing bread and cooking burgers, we'd be drunk anyway. It'd be probably quite funny.
Well, it might be, but it's not a show, is it? What is it?
All it is fawning.
With love.
With love, Megan. Do you know who my husband is? Oh, yes, of course we all do.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm with you. I don't understand it, but I suspect that's probably true about the Netflix thing. Keep them safe.
Yeah.
You know, there's a Christmas special as well.
Oh, is there?
And I asked the listeners to come up with what they would call the Harry and Meghan Christmas special, and somebody said Harry and Meghan's Yuletide log that you would flush down the loo.
Brilliant.
True.
Right, Marion Kent says this, universal credit is a ridiculous system, Mike and Jezza. I've got two very strong, healthy 30-year-old family members who cut their hours so they could get benefits as it helped them to go out with their friends and go to the gym. What?
It's true.
Well, this is ridiculous. I mean, the fact is, this country is made up of people who don't actually want to do anything. That's the trouble.
That's the ideology,
and
isn't
the
it?
other people who want to do everything. How about this from Louis in York? I have to work 2 jobs to ensure my family are watered, fed, warm, clothed, and most importantly, happy. I work 90+ hours a week to be able to provide this for my children. Not only am I working 2 jobs, I'm making a huge sacrifice by not seeing them grow and develop properly. It gets me down, as my wife, who also works full-time, sends me pictures and videos of them. I'm starting to think to myself, why am I sacrificing family time to be at work? Luckily, we're going away for 2 weeks on Friday to be able to spend good quality time together.
Now, that, to me, is the reason why I do the show. That gentleman there, right?
Yeah.
He's been brought up to provide for his wife and his kids and do right. He misses out on seeing things, and he would look at what's going on and he would go... But his attitude is the attitude that, when I was growing up, we all had. Where's that gone?
It's gone. Because people have been given the opportunity to be able to work less and go, oh, I'd like some time off so that I can spend time doing good things for my mental health. And so they work 2 days a week or something.
But mental health surely can be made better if you do something active during the day, can't it? There are jobs presumably available for people.
Of course. There are loads of jobs that nobody can do because they can't fill them. I mean, you talk to any restaurant, they can't get people to work in the kitchen. They can't get people to be waitresses and waiters. You know, they have to employ people from abroad because nobody in this country wants to do it.
I had I was reminded last night, just one story from the Jeremy Kyle show years and years ago, and there was a story one day, and there were loads of people on stage, and I happened to say to the producer, can you explain to me why the mother, who's quite central to this, is sat in the audience?
Right.
So I went to talk to her, and she said, well, I can't walk on stage because I lose my disability benefit. Genuinely, that was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
So you won't go on stage.
And she'll still be on it,
So that's
probably.
the system that is being garnered, and we go back to, like, the migrant system. That is down to this country to make us less attractive, less of a pool, and less bloody soft, isn't it? Because people like Louis, I feel for that guy.
Absolutely.
Right, I feel for that guy. But he's doing right, and his kids will respect him and love him for supporting them. So I
He will. Let's hope so. Let's get a voice out from Lee on Trump.
Morning, Mike. Lee from Chelmsford. I just watched Caroline Levitt's press conference, and the difference between the two countries is just unbelievable. 0 people crossing in the United States. None. No one's getting in there. Everybody knows if you enter the United States illegally, you're going to be arrested, detained, and deported. There's no migrant hotels. There's no cash payouts. There's no boating lessons. There's nothing. Why can't we have a leader like they've got?
Yeah. They did have them, because I was talking to my sister the other day, and there was the Roosevelt Hotel in Manhattan. You probably know it.
Yep.
You were there right next to Grand Central Station. That was a migrant hotel.
Was it?
Yeah. They took it over, but a couple of bad things happened. There was a couple of murders there. There was a couple of, really bad things happened. They've now shut it down, and they've kicked all the migrants out, and they're not there anymore. Let's have a look at Donald Trump praising Caroline Leavitt. She's brilliant.
Where's Caroline? Where's my superstar? Caroline. Is Caroline in the back? Where's Caroline? Come here, Caroline. Come here, Caroline. Come here. Is she doing a good job, by the way? Come here. Is this the largest crowd that you've ever seen?
This is definitely the most packed briefing, and I think all of you would agree. I think it's why we need to build a ballroom.
Mr. President, I have a better idea.
All right, Brian, go ahead.
My question is this. You're building the big, beautiful ballroom. Yeah. Could we build a big, beautiful briefing room, updated technology, more seats?
I don't want to do that. I don't want you to be comfortable.
I don't want you to be comfortable.
Isn't he great? And she's amazing, right? She's 27 years old. She's a mother of two. She sits there astride this kind of,
She doesn't care, man.
Huge White House operation. And she knows everything. She's got an answer for everything. She bats them away when they try and give her a hard time. She's brilliant.
I would not be surprised if she doesn't go further up the Republican Party.
I know.
She's incredible at communicating. And like you said, just saying a bit, really, to be fair.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
By the way, America, a bit of America's come to Britain this week, J.D. Vance has come to the Cotswolds.
I know.
You know.
And he's upset Jeremy Clarkson.
Yeah, he's upset Jeremy Clarkson. Here's his motorcade, right? There's a couple of Range Rovers. There's 3 cars. That's the third one. 4. Nobody knows which car he's in, right? This is where they do it. So if you want to assassinate him, you don't know which car to take out. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's another one coming. 11, 12, 13.
Morning.
How many cars has he got? 14, 15.
Oh, somebody's got their tent on top.
Even so, as you say, 16, 17. The president, I think, has got 35.
18, 19,
20. It's brilliant. This is unbelievable, isn't it?
21, 22.
Right. And he's
This is ridiculous.
It is.
This is true.
It is. This is his motorcade. And there's the cops at the end.
What? 24 cars.
24 cars.
And can you explain to me, right, in the midst of all of this, and he's a friend of ours, Tom Skinner, our Bosch?
Yeah.
How did he end up at a barbecue with J.D. Vance? You can't even walk in the Cotswolds.
Well, he put out a tweet about 4 or 5 days ago saying he quite likes to meet J.D. Vance, and suddenly now he's met him.
Online this morning.
Incredible.
Tom Skinner and J.D. Vance sharing a burger.
Amazing.
Good on you, Bosch
Absolutely
boy.
amazing.
He's upset a few people, hasn't he? Jez is not happy.
Yeah, Jez Clarkson's not happy. He says he's messing up the whole Cotswold village.
He's not having a good time.
Also, Isabel Oakeshott was here with us yesterday.
Yep.
She was saying that there's a lot of idiots demonstrating against him in her village. In the Cotswolds, where she's got a very nice house. And she says, I don't know what's wrong with these people. Why are they demonstrating against a guy who's the vice president of a country from very far away, who happens to have come here with his family?
Those are professional people that moan about anything, although they moaned about Jeremy Clarkson and diddly squat. By the way, you heard the farm's got TB, so he's not in a good mood anyway.
He saw the cows were locked down.
Yeah, he said the reason he doesn't like J.D. Vance is he said it ruins all the filming. The drones are all going crazy because of all these American satellites and everything.
Yeah, I know. Brilliant. Right, coming up, we've got a couple more. We're going to do a bit of Nicola Sturgeon.
Jimmy Cranky!
Nippy Sweetie, as they used to call her. What else have we got? Generation Z, Gen Z, have been having to be taught to make phone calls, to make job applications. Don't know how to do it. And we're also going to be finding out why people are going to be given permission to down tools because it's too hot to work. Okay? It's too hot to work.
Are you genuinely telling me the truth?
I'm absolutely.
It's too hot to work.
It's too hot to work.
I'm traumatised and I'm full of anxiety.
Yeah,
Sorry,
people are
I'm
going to be
done
given permission not to work. 6:48.
Wow.
know, I can speak personally as a mum, as a grandmother to 2 young children of just 3 and a year and a half. And it worries the life out of me. What sort of world are we bringing our children into? You know, I don't even feel safe anymore working late in my own office. I used to work until sometimes 9 or 10 at night. Now I go when my staff leave because I don't feel safe on the streets, and that's in Gravesend.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
You pelonka!
Rodney! Listen, it's 10 minutes to 7. We're having a great time this morning.
Loving it. Where did it go?
The sun is shining. It's high in the sky now. We'll have to shut the blind soon because otherwise, you know, whoever will see me. We've got a piece on page 2 of the Daily Mail. Nicola Sturgeon is thinking about leaving Scotland and moving to England. This is a woman who wanted to, you know, basically organise for independence for Scotland. A lot of people in Scotland are saying this is the greatest betrayal of all time because surely if you want independence for Scotland, you want to stay living there, don't you?
I've never. I don't mean to be rude. Yeah. I've never really understood. I mean, she made everybody's life a misery. I think she was very. I mean, listen, Alex Salmon was our friend, and what happened and whatever.
Yeah.
I don't understand this woman. The first thing I'm going to say is, and I don't know what's happening to her ex-husband. Is he being prosecuted?
It's still a live case.
And she was completely.
He's been charged.
Right.
She's been exonerated. Apparently.
Oh, has she?
Yeah.
Right.
Unless he dobs her back in it, but yeah, she's been.
But
cleared.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Seems to me that the book that come out, you talk about she's quitting Scotland, seems to be all about her sexuality. It's all she seems to want to talk about.
Yeah.
I can only say one thing about it.
But she doesn't want to actually give anything away. She's not quite making the leap, if you like.
I don't give a toss what she wants to do with herself. I'm not interested. What I think you should call into question, we all should, is her judgment. Who can forget Isla Bryson?
Yeah.
And I remember on air just saying, there's a bloke that's raped 2 women. Who's put on a wig and gone, I need to go to a female jail. And you,
after
Sturgeon,
the fact, right?
are going to allow a dual rapist to go to a female prison who came out of court in a pair of pink trousers. You could see the lunchbox, right? That's madness.
I know.
And that woman was running Scotland. That is utter madness. Apart from her book, I don't get a toss about it.
And that was what was her undoing. And I mean, what's been really funny is to watch J.K. Rowling, you know, commenting on it all. She's reviewing the book, right? But the book's out. Here she is talking about her sort of rumours about living with a woman.
Oh.
You write in the book, I have never considered sexuality, mine own included, to be binary. What do you mean by that?
I mean what it says. It's just my view of the world and life and the way people are. If you're about to ask me, am I making some big revelation? No. Am I putting labels on myself? No. That's how I see the world.
Might we see you in a relationship with a woman?
I'm just out of a marriage, so I'm not rushing into a relationship with anyone anytime soon. I'm enjoying being my own person for a while.
But not ruling it out?
I'm not contemplating, you know, sort of anything of that nature. I'm just enjoying life.
Enjoying life? What do you think she means by that?
Well, I think I know what I mean. I think she have to be really, really... I don't care about anybody's sexuality.
Do you know I used
She's
to go out
making
with
the
her?
whole book...
I went out with her a few times.
Oh God, no! My morning's finished. You went out with Nicola Sturgeon.
I took her out a few times. Yes, in my sort of early years in Scotland when I was editor of the Daily Mirror in Scotland, and she was a sort of rising star politically, right? And we were sort of flirting with the idea of backing the SNP at the time. And so Alex
Were you
Salmon,
flirting with her?
Yes, very much so.
Were you?
Used to take her to Regano's, which of course is the champagne bar in
You went
Glasgow.
out with Jimmy Cranky?
I did, yeah.
And
nothing really happened.
No.
But
is that because you realised very quickly that she'd have preferred your girlfriend?
No, because there was no sign of that at the time.
But the point is, actually, on a serious note, Why is she making it all about her sexuality? I don't give a damn about that. I want to talk about your political judgment, which is rubbish.
Well, I think she's also making it about that as well, but I think she realises that she got that so wrong.
Yeah.
She can't, you know, she's probably more comfortable talking about her sexuality. But again, somebody was writing a sort of critique of her book. She doesn't quite go that far. You know, she's not very nice about Alex Salmond. She doesn't quite tell you that she's a lesbian. You know, she doesn't quite go the full distance, if you know what I mean.
So it's not... I read one review that said it was the greatest political autobiography since Barack Obama.
Yeah, really? I didn't read that one either.
So a woman who allows a dual rapist to go into a female prison, who makes the launch of her book about her sexuality...
And who basically destroys the ideal of Scottish independence by being useless, right? Because nobody now talks about Scottish independence.
Why are we interested in her then?
Because it's an interesting story, isn't it?
Did she have a beard when you went out with her?
No.
No.
No, she came on her own. No, listen, it was very much a political match-up.
You had a political connection.
I was trying to work out whether, you know, how to get under the skin of the SNP.
Right.
Right. And so she was the obvious candidate to go through, as it were.
And she was dazzled by the charms of the Graham.
Well, yeah, of course, naturally.
She's only human.
Only human. But nothing happened. I've got nothing to confess, and I can't say one way or the other.
We asked you, did anything ever happen with Nicola Sturgeon? You said no.
No, it's true. It's absolutely
right.
You
were telling the truth, actually, mate.
I was telling the truth, yeah, thank you. Now, apparently, page 1 of the Telegraph, let's do this, right? According to a police chief, who is a man by the name of Matthew Barber, Tory Police and Crime Commissioner for Thames Valley, he says the public have got a duty to stand up to shoplifters rather than relying solely on police officers. We've already got now the story, haven't we, of the vigilantes on the tube who took down that guy, that ridiculously crazed man who took down his trousers in front of children.
And by the way, they're about to be prosecuted by the British Transport Police.
The British Transport Police are going after them, right? This guy's saying we should go after shoplifters.
Matthew Barber, you're an idiot. So we're not supposed to have the police to deter criminals. Right? We're supposed to have our stuff nicked and then go and deal with it. And that, do you know why he's saying that? Because if those vigilantes are common proof that if you do that, then you'll be prosecuted.
Yeah.
The victims will be ostracised again. Ludicrous.
I know. Mad. How about this one? Workers will be allowed to down tools during heat waves under health and safety plans drawn up by regulators. Bin men, builders and others doing manual labour will be able to demand extra protection during hot weather under proposals being developed by the Health and Safety Executive. I mean,
what do you mean extra protection? What, some factor 30? What does that mean?
I mean, it's not that hot here.
Bin workers, right? They do it at 5 o'clock in the morning, not in Birmingham, they don't do it at all.
Don't do it at all. And every 2 weeks they don't bother picking up your stuff. I was in Dubai in May, right, where it's like 50 degrees centigrade, and people are still working in construction there, right? That's hot, and they probably shouldn't be. But when it's 30, it's not that bad.
But it's part of that thing, without getting too serious, it's part of that thing whereby, you know, it's all right, you don't have to work. There's, you know, sign on. We'll make it easy for you. We're just apologists. I mean, so it's hot. Get on with it.
Yeah.
Don't moan when it's wet. I mean, you know, it's like the railways. It's too hot. It was on the train the other day. It stopped because it's too hot. What does that mean? The driver's gone home because he's got a headache or something?
Because all the lines have warped. Is that what happens in hot weather?
And then in the rain there's leaves. Honestly, mate. So down tools, everybody. Breakfast is finished. It's too hot today. We'll all go home.
You can all go home. Go to the pub. See you down there. Final clip for you.
Yes.
We've played a few this morning. This was BBC Breakfast in happier times, you know, before they were all arguing with each other. This is when they wanted to do a piece on Nicola Sturgeon a few years ago.
Brilliant.
Hello, this is Breakfast with Naga Manchetti and Charlie State.
It's 6:30, it's Friday the 14th of October. Let's tell you what's coming up on the programme. We're going to be joined by Scottish First Minister Nicola Sturgeon. We'll talk to her about plans for a second referendum on independence.
I'm sorry, we've very clearly run the wrong pictures of that particular sequence. My apologies.
Oh my God! That's when they were still talking to each other, by the way, Charlie and
you know my story, but I can't.
I know. I've told.
I know she's being stalked, but she's all right. Trust me.
Yeah, no, I hear that. I hear that. He apparently is not, though.
No.
And neither is the guy that edits the show, who doesn't talk to
Richard Freddie. I don't speak to anybody. Such happiness.
Anyway, listen. What a delight to see you.
Oh, mate, thank you. I love it.
Thank you very much.
The hour's gone.
The hour's gone. You're off to somewhere parts north.
I'm going Newcastle, man.
You and I have got an announcement to make soon. We can't say anything about it yet.
Big announcement.
But very soon we'll be making it. It's coming up to 7 o'clock. Jeremy Carr, thank you very much indeed.
Pleasure, mate.
Monday.
Thank you.
Plank of the Week is coming up later on, but he's not going to be on that, unfortunately. Never mind. Loads more for us to do. I don't know what to tell you about today, but I've got a good feeling about it. The podcast will be out after the show as well. This is Morning Glory. I'm Mike Graham, and you know what to do. 0344 499 1000. Send us your voice notes. Send us your text into 87222. Send us your tweets at talkTV. This is a beautiful Wednesday. We'll see you after the news.
How much, ladies and gentlemen, are fish and chips where you come from? We'll go to Jason in Crewe.
Jason from Crewe, fish, chips and peas, £7.50. It's the best chippy in England.
Janice in Leeds, go.
Regarding fish and chips in Leeds, it's between £9.50 and £12.75.
Whitby, how much is fish and chips?
3 of us, fish, chips, peas, I think one of us curry sauce, 3 cans of pop, just short of 70 quid.
£70? That's 23 quid a head, man. Even my maths does that. Very quickly, a voice note. Campbell in Scotland, go.
Up here in Banff in the northeast of Scotland, we can get a fillet and a half of haddock with a regular chips for £8 and 10p, and it's by far and away one of the best chippies I've ever had.
Kenneth in Surrey, fish and chips, go.
Fish and chips in Ascot, about half a mile from where you used to live, will cost you £12 and 60p. Great show. Keep up the good work.
That's why I moved, because you were living there. When was the last time you had fish and chips?
Couple of weeks ago.
How much? Where'd you get it from?
I think it was about 40 quid. It was in the Ivy.
Honestly, you really are. For any of you who think he's a man of the people, I nearly said you're a...
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory, coming up for 3 minutes past 7. It is, of course, Wednesday, the 13th of August, and the sun is up, ladies and gentlemen. It's a beautiful day. It's very sunny. It's going to be warm again today, somewhere in the 30s, early 30s in London. Obviously, the rest of the country maybe slightly less warm, but still, a lot of people giving me reports that all is going well. Front pages, a lot have got pictures of migrants flooding into Britain. That's what it says on the front page of the Daily Telegraph. Pictures of these young fighting-age men, some of them wearing life jackets, running through the shallows to get onto a boat that they'll eventually bring them into Britain. Absolutely unbelievable stuff. It turns out that obviously the 50,000 plus has been well overtaken over the course of the last 24 hours because we crushed the 50,000 barrier yesterday. We're now getting up to 51,000 and it's not our fault, according to the Labour Party. Front page of the Daily Mail says smashing the gang's latest. Basically, Keir Starmer has been slammed for incompetence over the handling of the Channel crisis, with a soaring figure a clear indication of the lack of a plan since he axed the Tories' Rwanda deportation scheme on his first day in power. Remarkably, former Labour Home Secretary Jackie Smith blamed the Tories, claiming what is happening is the result of the last government. The Sun this morning has got taunts of the TikTok migrant. There's a guy on the front pages, basically Alexandra 420 on TikTok, racked up 1 million views, basically as he detailed his journey before brazenly hosting a live stream Q&A at an asylum hotel near Heathrow. He got on his dinghy and said, "Tell your friends to come." Absolutely incredible. And on pages 8 and 9 of The Sun, there's even more revelations. They show him telling all his friends to come as he sits on a dinghy with a life jacket on. He shows the other people on the dinghy as well. And then some hours later, on Sunday, he's at the Crown Plaza in Heathrow. My wish was to come to this hotel. Welcome to London. It's the best place of all time. Talk about Britain's broken borders. Unbelievable stuff. Front page of The Times says Channel boat migrants are arriving at a record speed. Even The Guardian's got them on the front page this morning. You cannot get away from this story. The only other big story, of course, in town is a record 8 million people now on universal credit. More than 1 million people have been added to the credit list, the universal credit list, since Labour have been in power. And there's something like 200,000 more people on the dole since Rachel Reeves' budget in November. You might remember yesterday we had a bit of a set to with a bloke who called himself an economist. He might as well have been Rachel Reeves, who's that useless, from the Joseph Rowntree Foundation. I don't know what on earth you're going to say to make me be convinced that this migrant crisis is going away anytime soon. 0344 499 1000 is the latest number you can call us on. You can leave us a voice note. You can send us a text to 87222. You can find us as well on X at talkTV. I'm Mike Graham. This is Morning Glory. Let's get it on. And we've got a bunch of messages. Kev from Shropshire says this. Hi, Mike. It's too late when the boats get here. We need to stop them getting here, and the only way is to involve the French and the European Union. It's blackmail. I've said it again and again. Revoke a fishing licence for every boat that arrives. It will stop overnight, and then we can sort out who is here and who isn't. One from Anne in Devon. Mike, does the government actually want to stop people coming across the channel? This all feels very organised, and it seems hard to believe all of these people have so much money to pay for their trip. I listen every day. All the best. Well, this is the thing. I think it's now becoming very clear that not everybody is actually paying to get here, because what they're doing is they're coming here knowing that they can live here, knowing that they can work here, knowing that they will actually earn enough money to pay back the people smugglers once they've got the money to do so, because that's where we are now. It is absolutely and utterly a business which is running on rails. It's that successful. It's probably the most successful business that Britain currently has going on our very shores. Unbelievable stuff. Let's talk to Joanna Bell, political commentator, about it, because we have now reached sort of epic ridiculousness, I think. Joanna, very good morning to you.
Oh, good morning, Mike. How are you today?
I'm all right. Notwithstanding the fact that we are being overrun by migrants, and they literally just they just keep coming, 50,000 plus now since last July. It's absolutely out of control, isn't it?
Out of control, but why wouldn't they come over? They're given free food, luxury accommodation, driving lessons, clothes, benefits are lavished upon them. They live in luxury that most tax-paying citizens could only dream of.
Yeah.
Even some of them are being given hair extensions, which I don't know. I know you've probably never had hair extensions before, Mike.
I haven't, no.
But they're about £600 for a full set.
Are they?
Oh, yeah.
Crikey.
Is it any wonder taxpayer-paying citizens are up in arms about it, you know? And the government adds insult to injury when they accuse ordinary people of being far-right extremists. The crime is up. We're starting to get statistics about who are committing the crimes, and it seems the migrants are committing a high proportion of crimes, including sex crimes.
Yeah.
So,
and unfortunately, I mean, we're seeing demonstrations up and down the country outside hotels from as far and wide as Essex, up to Norfolk, up to Newcastle, up to Glasgow, down to Bournemouth, you know, every place you go. There's a big piece in the Mail today by Ross Clark about all the free stuff that they get, free football tickets, university courses, driving lessons, as you say, hair extensions, and the astonishing list of perks. And what I don't understand about this, Joanna, is who on earth in their right mind is going, oh, these people are so downtrodden and so underprivileged that we've got to give them free stuff. Why do we have to give them free stuff?
Well, look, Mike, it's even on the front page of The Guardian today. So, I mean, the left are starting to wake up to the fact that this is an absolute joke. People who are considered left-wing are actually up in arms about what's going on in this country. It's become such a laughingstock that there's a migrant who's live streaming his journey to the UK from his 4-star hotel.
Yeah.
They are gloating about the unbelievable benefits they're receiving. And this is the taxes of ordinary people, which they are giving to migrants for even more benefits.
Yeah.
You couldn't make it up. You know, there's protests taking place outside the Bell Hotel, no relation, in Epping, after an Ethiopian asylum seeker was charged with sexually assaulting a school girl days after arriving in Britain.
Yeah.
So now the council are trying to close the hotel down because they don't have planning permission to have asylum seekers there.
Well, funnily enough, we spoke to a council leader yesterday who was from Dudley, I think, in the West Midlands, and they're talking about bringing a case, a legal case against the government because they're not happy about what they're doing in terms of placing migrants in their constituency, because at the end of the day, nobody can control it locally. It's all about the Home Office, it's all about the government, and there's going to be quite a few of these lawsuits, I think, picking up over the course of the next few weeks. And the government's going to face a massive problem because they don't know what to do with all these people. They can't put them into, you know, HMOs, they can't put them into private accommodation because that'll just make it all worse.
Well, I mean, might be controversial, but there's plenty of uninhabited British islands that they can be housed on until such time as they're processed. That would deter them. And they might think twice about coming here if they're going to be faced with no frills accommodation on an uninhabited British island.
Yeah.
And that's the way to smash the gangs. There's no other way.
Yeah, no Deliveroo, no bikes, no food, you know, nothing. Just sit there and be given bread and water, whatever it is you get, until such time as you get kicked out of the country. I think that would certainly be a deterrent. Let's talk about a couple of other stories. On the same page on the Daily Mail, page 6, police have been told to release suspects' ethnicity in high-profile cases under new guidelines being given out by the, I think it's by the National Police Chiefs Council, because we've had this problem, haven't we, in Nuneaton, where they tried to conceal the fact that 2 migrants had been found, or at least had been charged with allegedly raping a 12-year-old girl, and they didn't release their ethnicity, didn't release their nationality, because they were worried that it was going to cause ructions in the local community. Well, bad luck, it already has got out. So, you know, now they're being told, you've got to tell people.
Well, they should tell people because, you know, the figures are out, the stats are out, and a high proportion of the crimes are being committed by migrants, and especially sex crimes. So, yeah, people are very scared about, you know, letting their kids out, you know, their teenagers. You know, this Ethiopian allegedly sexually assaulted a girl just days after arriving here and was housed in a luxury hotel. You can't do any more for these people, and here they are abusing the children. It's absolutely disgraceful, and, you know, it needs to stop because we need to know who's in our neighbourhoods, who are these people, and what crimes they're committing, because we have to keep our children safe.
Well, this is what people are saying up and down the country, and in fact, what we're hearing, and I don't know whether you've heard this, is that there are now groups of men patrolling the streets in some parts of this country because they want to keep their kids safe, and they're worried about their wives, about their sisters, about their aunties, their mothers, and their daughters, and they're actually walking around the streets to make sure that the streets are safe for their own women.
Yeah, and who could blame them? You know, you go to any rich neighbourhood and they have a private security, you know, driving around all the big houses to stop crime. So this is just a version of that in small neighborhoods and small communities. What else can they do? You call the police and they don't come, and they don't care. And they're more concerned about locking people up for putting out a bad tweet than they are catching sex criminals. I mean, I don't want to always bring it back to Lucy Connolly, but she's serving 31 months in jail, and migrants who are committing sex attacks are being given suspended sentences.
Well, we spoke about one this morning from Jeremy Carl's show yesterday, a Nigerian guy who came here as a migrant and sort of sexually assaulted a young woman, a teenager, on Bournemouth Beach, right? And he's been let off with a caution, no custodial time whatsoever, and he's been given the right to remain in this country permanently because he's had a hard upbringing, apparently.
Oh, well, my heart bleeds.
I mean, it's shocking, isn't it?
Well, this is why people have to take the law into their own hands, because they are sacrificing the safety of British citizens for migrants who actually hate this country and are laughing at us. And taking full advantage of our lax laws and lax criminal justice system.
Yeah, absolutely right. And, you know, one of the things that we've found out about what migrants get given for free is they apparently get access to food banks. There are apparently a lot of food banks which are solely committed just to supplying migrants with food. And you might remember this, but, you know, in the days when the Tories were still in government, we used to hear stories all the time from the sort of bleeding heart liberals going, you know, people are starving in this country. There are food banks all over the place growing up because there's a need for them. Well, now we know why, because they were giving free stuff to migrants.
Of course, and we're also paying the French authorities to keep the small boats away, and they're just laughing all the way to the bank. I mean, you know, we're showering these people with gifts and luxury. It's completely unhinged.
Yeah. Exactly right. And how about this for a survey, right? Again in the Mail, more than half of women are now concerned for their personal safety in their local area. This is polling for Reform UK has found this out. 60% have fears when they're out shopping or walking. 51% are worried about being harassed or sexually assaulted.
I mean, come on. I mean, there's always a danger for women being out on the streets, but it's even increased more now because of the influx. I mean, 50,000 a year have come in.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we don't know who these people are. We don't know what criminal acts they've committed in their own country. We don't really know what countries they've even come from. Some of these people come from very violent societies where sexual abuse is just the norm. Right. So how can you integrate these people into a civilized society and expect them to behave themselves when they have no frame of reference on how to behave in a society such as the UK?
No, I think you're absolutely right. Joanna, good to speak to you. We've got to run. Thank you very much indeed. Joanna Bell, political commentator there. Morning, fellas, says Heb. This morning it really is foggy out in the channel. Maybe any boats that might have set off in the early hours will do a starmer and U-turn without knowing it. Well, I presume they've got some kind of navigational capability. I don't know how they get here, but I'm sure they do. Let's get a voice note from Richard.
Good morning, Mike. It's Richard from Crowborough here. Looks like it's going to be a great show today because there's lots going on. And as Labour smashed through the 50,000 migrants, I understand that Jackie Smith is now saying that it's not Labour's fault. And can't you just hear Basil Fawlty right now?
Well, whose fault is it then?
I wonder, we should probably have another listen to Baroness Jackie Smith. This is her yesterday, blaming the last government for the big numbers in migration.
This is a problem that has, up to this point, we haven't managed to tackle in terms of the numbers who are coming here. But it is a completely legitimate claim to say that that's because what is happening is the result of the last government that chose to focus on gimmicks through the Rwanda scheme that returned 4 volunteers and
but it hadn't started. The Rwanda scheme hadn't started, but
well, it had, and it returned 4 people, and it cost £750 million. And what the last government hadn't done was to take the sort of powers that we've taken to get to the criminals who are responsible for this. You're right, internationally, which is why, as well, we've been willing to work with the French, with the Germans in a way that the last government wasn't willing or wasn't able to.
Yeah, I mean, thanks anyway for your input, Jackie, but I think we'd all rather see you taking the blame for actually increasing the numbers of people coming here by 48%, because that's exactly what's happened. Under Labour, this number has risen and come faster than it could have ever possibly come before. 0344 499 1000 is the number, 17 minutes past 7.
Yes, I am. And I'm going to put another one up 5 times the size.
Oh, I like the sound of him.
He's good. He's good. And, you know, you can predict the story, can't you? He's been a victim of shoplifting 5 times so far this year. And how many police turned up to help him? You know, it's just It's excruciatingly bad judgment.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory, 20 minutes past 7. It is, of course, Wednesday the 13th of August. The sun is up. A lot of people are out there working their way through, trying to make as much money as they possibly can before this government taxes them into oblivion. I've had a lot of really good messages this morning. Phil in Coventry says, morning, started at 6, working away, paying my taxes, never mind the Orkneys or anywhere else. Just stop the boats immediately, turn them around, then round up all the people not meant to be here and deport them. Simple. I've had enough. Susan says this, good morning, Mike. I'm 65 years old and out working 12 hours a day weekdays and work weekends for 2 jobs. It's not just the free money they get on universal credit, it's the free time they get that annoys me, and them not having to set an alarm every morning. Well, this is the thing. We've got a piece on the front page of the Express today saying 8 million people now on universal credit in this country. 8 million people who are getting a benefit of some kind or another from this government. Absolutely extraordinary. Mike, great show. Did you see the news article about the US criticising us for human rights and free speech? Seeing that actually made me feel hopeful. How bad is that? I live in hope that the United States uses its massive leverage over us to actually force us to make changes. It's bad to feel this way about your own country, but intervention is needed. And isn't it strange to find yourself living in a country where people complain about the way it's being run to such an extent they can't quite believe it? Let's talk to Helen Whately, MP, Shadow Department for Work and Pension Secretary, because, Helen, a very good morning to you. You will be as concerned, presumably, as the rest of us are, about all of these people on universal credit and not working, basically.
I mean, Mike, yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, I'm also shocked to see those figures getting up to 8 million people now on universal credit. That's 1 million more than when Labour took office. And around half of those people don't have any requirement to even look for work or be trying to work at all. Hand in hand with that, we've got unemployment going up every month for 10 months under this Labour government. So that's a disaster as well, showing what a terrible job they're doing of handling the economy. Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves getting the complete economic mismanagement, not managing to get the welfare bill under control. And the consequence of that, of course, which is being talked about in lots of the papers, is that we're likely to see taxes going up for hard-working taxpayers this autumn.
Yeah, exactly right. And I mean, added to that, I guess you've got the double whammy then of 50,000 migrants who have come here since Labour got in July last year, which is a staggering number, 48% up, I think, on the last time you guys were in charge. And I know that people always say to me, you don't give the Tories a hard enough time, they messed everything up, it's all their fault. So, I mean, I'm going to preempt it by saying that to you, but by the same token, it's got a lot worse in the last year, hasn't it?
Exactly. I mean, and it's no wonder people are feeling angry. A moment ago, we were talking about the number of people going onto benefits, many of them not having to work. And here, as you're showing on the screen right now, we've seen 50,000 people arrive in small boats under Labour. This is Keir Starmer, who promised that he was going to smash the gangs. And yes, of course, it's of course, the right question for you to ask, well, what about our record in government? But your viewers will know that we had worked to get together the Rwanda plan that was already beginning to act as a deterrent, and people who were going over to Calais said that they were hearing that migrants were worried about that would mean they wouldn't be able to come to the UK and looking for alternatives. But the moment Labour came in, they scrapped that plan, said they were going to do the smash the gangs approach. That clearly hasn't worked, as a result of which we've got more people, not fewer people now in these in hotels and communities like Epping, where Kemi Badenoch, our leader, went the other day to actually talk to people and see how it's affecting the community. And clearly, Labour just hasn't got a grip on this problem at all.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, the problem is that they seem to have allowed these hotels to have sort of ballooned in size, the numbers of hotels involved in the schemes ballooning in size, but they're now attempting to move people out of hotels into private accommodation, which in my mind is actually going to make it worse in terms of, you know, community cohesion, in terms of the way that the public are going to be angry about that. You know, it's not a good idea.
I mean, I don't see that as the answer either. And we know that, you know, people who are trying to get affordable rented accommodation as it is are really struggling. That's the case in my constituency in many parts of the country. It's hard to get into private accommodation. So that's not the right answer anyway. And Kemi Badenoch has said she thinks that given the situation with hotels, what they should be doing instead of hotels is actually moving people into specially built camps where actually that people can be detained and make sure, for instance, you haven't got illegal working going on, which we now know is one of the things that can be a draw to tempt people to try and come to this country because they think they can work illegally, and you know that'd be a long-term route to living in the UK as well.
Right, but that is the problem, isn't it? You know, because I think, is it right, would it be right to say that the Tory government was kind of overwhelmed by this whole thing? Because when it started in 2018, 2019, the small boat crossings were really quite small. There were only a few thousand people coming. And now it's reached sort of epic proportions. Have you seen that picture on the front pages this morning of these young men running through the shallows in northern France to get to a dinghy? Because it's now not any longer a risk, really. I mean, you know, of course we say occasionally there's a tragedy, occasionally one of the boats sinks and occasionally some people die. But the risk is minimal because most of the people who come across the channel get here and find themselves in hotels and find themselves getting free tickets to comedy shows, free tickets to football matches, free, you know, gym lessons, free, you know, hair extensions and all of the rest of it. And it's just become this massive industry.
I mean, you're right in the sense that there isn't a deterrent, and what there is a pull, and people hearing that they'll get to be housed in hotels and looked after and things like that, and therefore, no. What the approach needs to be, well, people should be immediately deported if they come here illegally. You know, hence, that was our plan to do with the taking people to Rwanda. But people should be immediately deported. And they should not be given an opportunity to live in a hotel and have everything paid for by the taxpayer in that way.
No, indeed. One final thing for you, Helen. Kemi Badenoch apparently is not going to meet J.D. Vance, who's on holiday in the Cotswolds. He's meeting up with Nigel Farage. He's meeting up with all sorts of other people while he's here. He's been meeting with David Lammy. Is that a mistake for her not to meet him? She says she's got a conflicting diary.
Meeting with Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp, Shadow Justice Secretary Rob Jenrick. I don't believe he is meeting Nigel Farage, I'd heard, but
I've just been told that's exactly what's happening. I think it's just breaking.
Oh well,
now.
That's an update to his schedule then. But I know that Kemi's been in contact with him, but it just doesn't fit into their schedules in some way. But she already met him and spent time with him in the US, and I know they have a good relationship.
Yeah. Well, wouldn't you just make a bit of time to go and see him in the Cotswolds? It's down the road.
Do you know what? I don't have the details of the diary, but I do know that what matters is that Kemi has a good relationship with the US administration, and that's important for the country, clearly.
OK. Helen Whately, thank you very much indeed. MP and Shadow Department for Work and Pensions, of course. Let's have a look at what Lisa has to say about judges.
Morning, Mike. Morning, Jeremy. It's Lisa from Canterbury. I don't know why these judges are not being called out. There surely has to be someone above them to be, you know, these judges need to be named and shamed. It's like they're complete law unto themselves to put us all in grave danger. Thank you.
Well, listen, Lisa, thank you very much indeed. We've got just the man to talk to about judges in this country. It's Alp Mehmet, Chairman of Migration Watch. Alp, very good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Mike.
So we've got a story today, apart from all the other stories about 50,000 plus coming here in the last year, despite all the other stories about them getting freebies for this, that and the other. An amazing story yesterday from Bournemouth of a Nigerian migrant who came to this country a couple of years ago, was found guilty of molesting and sexually assaulting a young woman, a teenager, in Bournemouth on the beach, I believe, a couple of years ago, and was judged by the judge not to have to go to a custodial sentence because he'd had a hard upbringing and he was very sorry for what he did. Meanwhile, the girl in question is traumatised for life.
I find that particularly shocking, actually.
Yeah.
Firstly, because I served in Nigeria. I know Nigeria well. I know the sort of people who are coming from Nigeria, and they're not evil by any means. Some lovely people. But I was especially angered by this
Yeah.
because my granddaughter has just spent a few days in Bournemouth, 16-year-old granddaughter, and the thought that she is potentially the prey of really evil people like this really makes me very angry. And for the judge, who clearly knows, with respect, your lordship, know very little about Nigeria and Nigerians, I would say just take a closer look at the sort of people that are coming here and the circumstances they're coming from. Going back a little bit, Mike, with regard to this hideous milestone of 50,000 being reached, can I just say that that was always going to be inevitable. It was bound to be reached. The moment that Keir Starmer said we're going to smash the gangs and then did nothing about it, has done absolutely nothing about it, they were always going to come. You've probably seen in the Sun this morning, Alexandra 420 TikToking away about how wonderful it is and encouraging others to come. That's what we're up against, and that's what the government is not tackling.
No, but also, is it not, I mean, a lot of people ask me this question now, is it not time that we somehow got an assurance of some description or a promise from our politicians that if they don't do what they say they're going to do, that they should suffer some kind of sanction, you know, whether it be a financial one, whether it be the end of their tenure, whether it be a chance to call another election. You know, we can't any longer put up with, I don't think, more and more lies coming from central government, coming from senior ministers and indeed the Prime Minister, just lies about what they say they're going to do to stop the gangs. I mean, yesterday we played a sort of selection of clips from a video the Home Office put out last week in which there was the border commander, you know, there was sort of British intelligence officials, people who were on the small boats commandment, you know, all talking about the plan that they were going to put into place to stop this thing from going on. All the while as though it was something that was a distant sort of hope in the future, not a predicament that we are now in an emergency about.
Well, that's exactly it. Every time the government announces some new crackdown, they're actually talking about something that may or may not happen in a year or so, maybe 2 years. And the border security commander, he works out of Helsinki, for goodness sake.
I know.
I mean, I find that mind-boggling. I really do.
Yeah.
The one in, one out business. I mean, that is...
It's just rubbish, isn't it?
A gimmick and a lie.
Yeah.
I don't know what is. It's more like thousands in and none out rather than one in,
but
one out.
But this is it, you know, since they since they announced that last week, right, they claimed at the back end of last week that they had detained some people, right, but they didn't give us any details. They said operationally they couldn't do that. Yvette Cooper said that she was going to give us regular updates about the way that these people were being dealt with and exactly how long they were going to be detained for and exactly where they were going to be sent and exactly, you know, where and who was going to be responsible for all of it. We've had no updates at all. And it was pointed out to me by one of our regular guests, actually, yesterday, that when you say regular, Halley's Comet comes around regularly every 75 years, right? But it's not actually anything other than a long time between passes, if you like. And I wonder when the next regular update we're going to get from Yvette Cooper is going to come.
Well, I wouldn't hold my breath if I were you, actually, Mike. I suspect that the next regular update is going to be another gimmick, which... That's what all we've had since this government came into office. Gimmick after gimmick after gimmick, even though they claimed that that's what the Tories were actually up to.
Yeah.
All governments engage in this sort of thing, admittedly, but the results of them failing in this, with what's going on now, is really horrific. It doesn't bear thinking about. The 50,000 or so who are going to come by the end of this year, just keeping them for a year is going to cost £40,000 each. That's £2 billion.
That's outrageous.
In a year.
Yeah.
And that, when Jackie Smith says, oh, the government spent all this money on the Rwanda scheme and it didn't work, well, you didn't want it to work, Jackie. You didn't want it
Also, they've spent even more money, by the way, with the French, who have done the square root of nothing for us.
I was going to say the same thing, Mike, and look at all the millions that we've given to the French.
I know. It's absolutely shocking. Absolutely shocking. Great to talk to you. Al Mehmet, thank you very much indeed, Chairman of Migration Watch. Like me, frustrated by the absolute and utter incapacity of our politicians to tell the truth. Why can't they tell the truth? What's going on with them? Mike says, Roger, best thing about J.D. Vance's motorcade is that it must be really annoying to climate nutter Ed Miliband. Yeah, absolutely right. And one here from Paul, who says, people have been given permission not to work for decades. I worked in a print room with high temperature machinery. It was a nightmare, as everyone would be sweating profusely. Yeah, I know, but you still carried on working. You didn't actually need to be given the day off, did you? One here from somebody who doesn't give a name. I get up at 4:20 5 mornings a week, and I start work at 6. It does my head in how many people don't work and get benefits for sitting on their backsides. Yeah, I do exactly the same. I get up at 4:20 every morning and I start work pretty much at 5 when I get in. You know, it's absolutely incredible. 7:35, we're going to be talking to Matt Wilkinson, Royal Editor of The Sun, coming up next. First, though, let's get a voice note from James.
Good morning, Mike. Now, I just heard that absolute moron you had on yesterday. What's his name? Sam Timms. So he's happy for the government to tax us more, is he? I tell you what, Mr. Timms, you can pay more tax because, do you know what, Mike? It breaks my heart that the government take our hard-earned money that we earn, Mike, and just basically waste it all on most of the time themselves and stupid little projects. And just, he went on about the NHS is not funded enough, underfunded. He's having a laugh again. We've never spent more money in the NHS. For Christ's sake, you can't keep throwing money at things. Anyway, enjoy the rest of your show, Mike. Keep up the great work as always. Cheers, mate.
James, thank you very much indeed. In case you missed it yesterday, we had this guy from it's called Sam Timms, the Joseph Rowntree Foundation, talking about the economy. Here's how it went. Let me just clarify. You want to give more money to those people who don't generate money, and you want the people who generate the money to give that money to the government in tax. That's what you want to do.
First of all, increasing the minimum wage, one of the points you just mentioned, that is a significant boost to low-income families, and that's putting more money in their pocket through work. Low-income households do typically spend the vast majority of their money. The other point here is that...
Yeah, but then if you gave them more money, Sam, why are they not spending it then, and why is there no growth?
The most efficient way to stimulate the economy will be through social security.
No, it won't. And I've had enough of this. I'm sorry, Sam, you're talking absolute cobblers. Get lost. I mean, to be fair, I gave you a good 6 or 7 minutes before we got to that point. But yeah, absolute nonsense. Left-wing, shill economic nonsense. No reality whatsoever. It's the kind of rubbish that you might hear from Rachel Reeves. You know, the best way to stimulate the economy is to give people some free money. Don't give them work. Don't make them earn it. Just give it to them. Just give them more benefits. And that way, they're going to go out and spend that money in the shops. No, they're not. They're literally not going to. Because if they were, the 8 million people on universal credit would be making this economy boom. But this economy isn't booming, is it? Because it is dead on its back legs. It's fallen down and it can't get up. The economy is knackered. Why? Because Rachel Reeves keeps taxing the people that make the money. And the more you tax people, the less willing they are to pay it. And the more intrinsically funny ways they'll find to get around it. Lots of people have left the country as a result of Rachel Reeves' budget last November. More people will be leaving the country in November this year when she goes after them again. Front pages of the papers, already they're talking about her coming after your inheritance. So that if you are fortunate enough to be able to save a bit of money, if you are fortunate enough to want to leave it to your children, if you are fortunate enough to have a reasonably decent and stable home life, and you don't take drugs, and you don't drink, and you don't become a complete and utter wastrel on society, you don't get done for breaking the law, you actually appear to be an honest, good, fine, upstanding citizen, you will be hammered by this government and you will be trashed. And you will have everything taken off you, and you will be not even told thank you, because they want to give it all to migrants and want to give it all to people who can't be asked getting up in the morning. Brilliant, isn't it? 7:38.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory. 7:40 is the time, and of course, lots of you have got lots of things to say this morning. Sheila says in Norfolk, my daughter lives in the Barbican. I've just sent her an ultra-loud rape alarm. What is this country coming to that I feel that is necessary? Lovely show, says Alison in Dorset. It's just about keeps me sane. Don't you think the Starmer and Macron are the people smuggling gangs? I do. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And Paul from Canterbury says, Jackie Smith, it's not Labour's fault. Sorry, they had a plan. What was it? Saying smash the gangs all over the place is not a plan. It is their watch sorted out. Exactly right. One man who's taken us away from the migrant story this morning is Matt Wilkinson. He's got a big piece in The Sun all about Prince Andrew today and how Prince Andrew is having a terrible time of it because apparently the one place where he can drive his car, which is around sort of Windsor estate, has been categorised as a place where they need to put speed bumps in, right? Andy gets the hump, is what it says. Prince's rant over a new speed bump on the estate. F-word blast at crew while riding a horse. He was riding a horse around yesterday, apparently, and he said, what the F are you doing now? Matt, a very good morning to you, sir.
Morning.
So, this is a great story, this, isn't it? Here's the question I think a lot of people are asking me. Where does Prince Andrew go when he gets in his car, gets on a horse? He just rides around the estate kind of aimlessly, does he?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, he's quite a lonely guy. He doesn't have much to do with his life these days. He barely travels abroad. Right. So he doesn't do much, but he's often on his horse. We often see him riding around on his horse. But yeah, these roads around Windsor Great Park are only just for people who live there or visitors. They're private roads. We can't drive down there. And I've seen Andrew many times driving around Windsor Great Park, and he's been likened to Toad of Toad Hall from Wind in the Willows. He does tear around these roads. But he has got the hump. There's a speed hump that's been put, probably about 100 metres from his front drive. Right. It means he has to slow down every time he leaves Royal Lodge. But as you pointed out there, the story that we got today is just the other day he was out riding his horse, which he often does. He was literally on his high horse, Mike, and he peered down at one of the workmen and said, what the F are you doing now? And this is straight out of Andrew's playbook. I mean, We know what he's like. We know that he is a kind of foul-mouthed buffoon. I mean, he's got a history of this kind of stuff, being rude to staff. But I do wonder about road humps. I mean, I'm not a big fan of road humps.
No, I'm not.
You know what I mean? So maybe he is a man of the people. Maybe he's speaking up for the common drivers and the common man, because I don't want a speed hump put outside my driveway. But it's more of the way that he talks to people, you know. That this guy was just out doing his job.
No, I mean, you've got a picture in the paper of the workmen doing the work, and you'd have to say somebody with a sense of humour has obviously asked them to do this, haven't they? Because they've obviously decided to just wind him up. Because you don't really need a speed bump in the middle of Windsor Great Park, do you?
Well, the interesting thing is his brother, the King, is actually the ranger of Windsor Great Park. Right. So I would imagine that this project may have gone across his desk or his private secretary's desk, and there was a little bit of a wry smile there at Clarence House or Buckingham Palace when they saw this coming in. But the interesting thing for poor old Andrew is we obviously do get a lot of pictures of him, out on riding his horse or driving around, and this speed hump is placed right at the exit where the photographers sit, which means he has to slow down, so it gives the photographers even more time to get a picture of grumpy Andrew sitting in his car.
Amazing. And he was in the papers earlier in the week, wasn't he, I think, saying that he's never going to go back to America. He doesn't think it's safe for him to go there because somebody will somehow land a lawsuit on him, or he'll have to testify before some kind of congressional committee about the Jeffrey Epstein case. He's kind of marooned forever in Windsor. He's never going to be able to leave, is he?
No, and that's why he's fought so hard to keep Royal Lodge. He's got Royal Lodge now. He's won the Battle of Royal Lodge, as it was described. His brother wanted him out. It was embarrassing seeing him riding around on a horse, smiling and grinning out of the car every time he appeared in the newspapers. He wanted him gone. But he's won that battle, and it means that he can stay in Royal Lodge as long as he possibly can. I mean, what does he do? He plays a bit of golf. We know from that recent Andrew Loney book that he likes to watch, some kind of X-rated stuff online. And he sits around watching telly on a big screen. But look, he's in his 60s. What else is he going to do? He hasn't got a job.
And every time he turns around, he's got his ex-wife wandering about the sort of the deserted halls of Royal Lodge, because it's quite a big place, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's about a 31-room. I've never been in. I've never been invited, but I think it's about a 31-room mansion. And my understanding is that Sarah has half the mansion, and Andrew has the other half, and they have a very unconventional setup. But you know, they've known each other for years. It's a very unconventional, but they have the children around quite a lot, and the grandchildren as well. So he's been clinging on to Royal Lodge for so many years now. He's never going to let that go.
No, of course. Talking about clinging on, have a look at this. This is Love Meghan, or With Love Meghan, season 2 from Netflix. Have a look.
I love the idea of spending time together. Hello! And finding new ways to show people you care. Look at that. Oh my gosh, I could do this every day. Let's get creative and learn something new. Nicely done. I don't know what's happening. I'm so glad you came to show me how to do this. Is this working?
Today's about getting out of your comfort zone.
I have no idea where to start.
Everybody should have one of those at home.
You think so? This is one of the most joyful days. So comforting. Very comforting.
Often what I want to make are things I want to share.
This looks fantastic. There are easy ways to show up lovingly.
That actually is giving me goosebumps. That is so lovely.
Yes, I don't think I'm going to be watching this one. I didn't watch the first one either, but a bit desperate now.
Did you really have to make me watch that again? I watched it enough times yesterday, and I was struggling. Well, look, you know, they've got a deal. They've got a deal. I mean, remember when we're talking about Brexit, no deal is better than a bad deal. Any deal for the Sussexes at the moment is a good deal. They need the money. They need the exposure. I think they fought tooth and nail to get this. I mean, the first series, I watched a bit of it. It was kind of vomit-inducing. People didn't like it. I don't think British people have forgotten who Meghan was when she was here, and the years after she left the UK and she started, you know, criticising the royal family, criticising Britain, making race allegations. We remember that, Meghan. So for us to then be presented with this, what does she say there? There are easy ways to show up lovingly. You know, now we're presented with this woman that is just fun-loving, carefree, has loads of friends around for dinner. It's a bit of a switch off for us because we don't have short memories.
I think that's right. Great to see you. Matt, thank you very much indeed. Matt Wilkinson, Royal Editor of The Sun there, with a great story in the paper today about Prince Andrew and his grumpiness, his royal grumpiness, as you might say, because somebody put a speed bump outside his front door. I mean, I think I'd be a bit grumpy if I did that, if they did that as well. 0344 499 1000. First time used, says Dave. Why don't we use MOD land, fenced off, porter cabins, no exit until processed completely. The boats would stop within a month. Once they knew, they would go to a virtual prison, possibly for a year. I think that's right. There's got to be a better way. There has to be. One from Colin in London. Taronsay is a deserted Scottish island of 14.9 square kilometres. Why not build low-cost, quick assembly, temporary accommodation there to house the illegals? Empty the hotels and HMOs, keep them out of our community, and use the existing housing stock for British citizens. Well, that sounds like a very good idea, doesn't it? What's wrong with these people? Coming up, we're going to be going over to the House of Lords. We're going to be finding out why they've spent 9 million quid, nearly 10 million actually, on a new door. What? I think we've paid for it. This is Talk.
Would you call shoplifters scumbags?
I'd call them scumbags, and worse. Yes, this is modern parlance for perfectly understandable what we think of people who are just stealing from other people. It's normal parlance, and to think that the police even thought it worthwhile to visit, quite frankly, I think speaks volumes about...
Perhaps if they bothered to visit when there was a scumbag shoplifter in the shop, then we wouldn't have such a problem.
Well, you're absolutely right.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory, 10 minutes to 8. We're going to speak very shortly to Lord Robert Hayward, Tory peer and pollster, of course. One from Karen in Taunton. She says, Mike, who would have thought that keeping illegal migrants in secure camps would stop illegal working and gang activity, drugs, weapons, crime, sexual assault, etc.? Yeah, exactly right. And one from Paul in Essex. Mike, a couple of things. Nicola Sturgeon, what an absolute hypocrite, moving to London. Yeah, it doesn't say much for the cause of Scottish independence, does it? Let's get a voice note from Ian.
Morning, Mike. I was just imagining if Churchill came back and we put him in charge of dealing with the migrant crisis. We shall fight in France. Well, no, actually, Prime Minister, we just pay the French and they do nothing. We shall fight on the seas and the oceans. No, Prime Minister, the border fast and the RNLI escort them safely across. We shall fight on the beaches. No, Prime Minister, we give them a nice hot drink and then we set them off in a nice comfy coach. We shall fight in the streets and the hills. No again, Prime Minister, but some of the hotels are in lovely streets with views of beautiful hills. But we shall never surrender. Oh, Prime Minister, we did that a long time ago.
Very good. Ian, thank you so much for that. Very creative, by the way. Sounded like an episode of Yes Minister, didn't it? Brilliant. Let's talk to Lord Robert Hayward, Tory peer and pollster. Lord Robert, very good morning to you.
Good morning.
We have we have a great number of very talented people contributing to this show. It's hard to disagree with a word of that. If Winston Churchill came back, he'd be pretty horrified at the state of the nation, wouldn't he?
He would, I think. It was a very, very good and very funny series of comments, I thought.
Yeah, absolutely right. Let's talk about a couple of things. There's a new poll out in which it says that the Labour government have become even more unpopular in the last 48 hours than they were before. Just 13% of the public, included in a survey that's been done recently, say they approve of the government's record since returning to power under Sir Keir Starmer, the same percentage as the previous week. But those who disapproved has apparently slipped by another percentage point down to 68%. I'm not sure I can remember a more unpopular government. I don't know about you.
No, I think you'd be right. And it's not only in this country, but it's in other countries as well. The level of unpopularity of the current government, particularly one that was elected only a year ago, you look right round the democratic world and there is no parallel in any country. It is staggering, the levels of unpopularity. And being a cynic, which one has to be when spending one's time looking at numbers, is just who are the 13% you just
Well, I'm assuming they must be the final final drubbings of the Labour Party, actually members of the Labour Party who haven't deserted to Jeremy Corbyn's lot, because even some Labour Party members and people who voted for Labour have now deserted them.
Oh, yes, large numbers. I've got friends of mine. I do have friends who were members of the Labour Party, but nearly every single one of them has left.
Right. It is extraordinary, isn't it? I mean, what do you think is the reason why this government is so unpopular? I mean, I've got my own theories, and I'd be happy to share them. I mean, I think that the duplicity, the hypocrisy, the lies, the untruths that they tell on a daily basis, I think has finally kind of got to the point where people just don't believe a word they say.
I think the problem is, and I remember being interviewed by yourself and others at the time of the general election, and I identified that the Labour Party were putting forward a series of aspirations rather than plans. So they had very few specific plans, and it's taken them an eternity to try introduce plans, and at the same time they've hit all sorts of problems with the economy and the like.
Yeah, and they don't seem to have control of any of it, really. The economy is kind of spiralling out of their control. There's nothing that really Rachel Reeves can do in November that's going to make any difference, because every single sort of lever that they pull, if you like, has had the opposite effect of what they wanted it to have.
I think that's the big problem for the Labour Party, and you just identified the increasing unpopularity, and that is that we're now, even though it's mid-August, focusing on the budget, which isn't due for another 2.5, 3 months, and everybody, you were talking about it just now, is talking about increased taxation.
Yeah.
Therefore, people are just saying, oh, not another lot. And therefore, there's no question. I would be surprised if the level of unpopularity doesn't increase further.
Yeah. And what does that mean then for a government in position? They're sort of in power or in office, but not in power, if you like. I mean, somebody said to me that Keir Starmer isn't really the Prime Minister anymore. He's just a bloke that lives in number 10 Downing Street.
I think that's the problem, and one has to be careful, because other governments, the Conservative government, were enormously unpopular. But as long as they have a majority in the House of Commons, they can continue to govern. The real crunch for the Labour Party, and for Rachel Reeves in particular, will almost certainly come in the May elections next year, because that's the first really big nationwide set of polls, and that's the set of circumstances under which Keir Starmer will be confronted by electoral reality.
Yeah, and at that point, do you think it's possible that his own party would say, we really need to make a change here? You can't continue to steward our country and our party, over a cliff.
The Tory party is incredibly willing to change its leader under a set of circumstances. The Labour Party is not. The last Labour leader who was forced out was Lansbury almost a century ago.
Yeah.
So the Labour Party don't change their leader. I've had discussions with friends of mine who are in the Labour Party, and their thoughts are that Keir Starmer will continue to lead as Prime Minister, and I respect their views, and certainly history points that way.
Right. Final one to run past you. The House of Lords apparently has spent £9.6 million on a new door. Yeah, the people listening to this show will be incredulous at that. They'll be like, what do you mean 9.6 million for a bleeding door? What's that all about?
Well, it's a security door which was originally supposed to cost 6.1 million, and the authorities in the House of Lords wouldn't tell us what the cost was. They wouldn't tell us what the cost was. When they finally told us it was they said it was 9.6 million. But I've put a series of questions to the authorities, and they won't answer my question, because the reality is that they're hiding more costs over and above the 9.5 million.
Right. And so how does a door actually cost that much money? I mean, OK, a security door, I get it. Presumably it has to be blast-free or something like that, or blast-proof, and it has to be, secured to the point where nobody can break through it and all of that. But come on, I mean, 9.6 million.
Well, it's put into a building of historic interest, and there are all sorts of complexities. But at 6.1 million, I'd have said it was insane.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've got all sorts of complexities in my flat. I've got these, receding light bulbs that I can't get out. But it doesn't cost me 9.6 million to figure out how to fix it.
But the consolation would be, Mike, if it actually worked, even at 9.6 million. But because it's now been supposedly in operation for 10 months.
Right.
And in fact, people keep getting jammed in it. People in wheelchairs can't get through it. If you've got luggage and you touch the door, it jams. So what do we have? We actually have security guards pushing the buttons and operating for us. And it's absolute public disgrace. And I'm determined to get to the bottom of what actually cost all this money.
Yeah. Well, I wish you a lot of luck with that, because I think we are entitled to know, as the taxpayers, I think, as to what they're doing with the money. Lord Robert Hayward, good to speak to you, Tory peer and pollster. Amazing, isn't it? 9.6 million. And then they go, oh, actually, yeah, it's gone up a bit. It was going to be 6, but, there's an extra 3.9 million has been added on now because we didn't expect there to have to be a door that opened or something. I mean, it's ridiculous, isn't it? These people live in a gilded world of complete and utter madness. 0344 499 1000 is the number. Coming up in the next hour, Esther McVey is going to be here, former Minister for Common Sense. We'll also be talking to Martina Bett and Liam Halligan. He'll give us his view on what's going on with the economy, and I can tell you this, it'll be a lot more sensible than that bloke we had on yesterday from the Joseph Rowntree Foundation, who didn't really know which end was up. We'll be talking about what's going wrong on the high street as well. That's a piece that Theo Pafitis has written in The Sun. 0344 499 1000 is the number. It's coming up to 8 o'clock. We will be back after the news.
My message to people smugglers is this. I think smashing the gangs is a deterrent. Smash, 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 smash the gangs. Smash the people smuggling gangs.
People smuggling puns.
He couldn't even smash an avocado for a piece of toast.
Or the people... What would that... The people...
I think smashing the gangs is a deterrent. Well, it might be if you smashed any, if you found any.
The people smash... The smash...
And he hasn't smashed anything. I mean, literally all he does is he smashes records every sort of couple of weeks, where more and more people come in a period of 24 hours.
Smash the gangs that are running this vile trade.
You're never going to smash the gangs. That's something that basically is impossible. The gangs are like the Hydra. You cut the head off and another two grow.
So I did write to ministers and say that I wasn't convinced that smashing the gangs was the right sort of way of thinking about things.
We will smash the gangs that undermine our security.
Keir Starmer has just tweeted 15 minutes ago. He says, "I know you're angry about immigration. I get it. We will smash the people smuggling gangs at source." Maybe I'll just read it all in his accent, shall I?
There is no return to freedom of movement. We have left the EU. I do not accept that prevents us working with other police units here, with prosecutors here, to smash the gangs.
Well, I'm sure the smuggling gangs are absolutely quaking in their boots now. Keir Starmer's on their case. Solving this issue, smashing the gangs, is that the impossible dream, Tom?
It really seems beyond him at the minute, I have to say.
We're going to get the evil people smugglers and we're going to smash them and we're going to put them in jail. That will solve the migrant crisis. Prime Minister Keir Starmer's promise to smash the gangs has resulted in just 5 convictions. Hurrah for operating small boats.
So what he really wants to say is that this policy of smashing the gangs is a total and utter disaster. There isn't a cat in hell's chance that it's going to work.
It's crap. It's crap. That's what he's basically saying.
I know you're angry about immigration. I get it. Mark my words, I will take back control of our borders. That means cutting migration, ending the use of asylum hotels and ramping up our efforts to stop small boat crossings.
It's like a parallel universe, the real world, as told by the impressive David Bolt, and Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves' fantasy world.
We will smash the people smuggling gangs at source.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory. Coming up to 3 minutes past 8. I'm Mike Graham with you all the way through, of course, until 10 o'clock. Coming up, Esther McVey MP is going to be here, former Minister for Common Sense in the last government. We'll be asking her about whether it's right that Education Minister Baroness Jackie Smith can blame the last government for the terrible toll that is being taken on this country by illegal migrants. We've got the number of 50,000. We got it yesterday, and we talked about it on the show all day pretty much. Smashing the gangs latest is the front page of the Daily Mail. With a picture that almost every newspaper is using this morning of a whole phalanx of young men running in through the shallows of the waters in Calais, just off the coast of Calais, basically running towards a dinghy. Most of the people in this picture will probably now be not only in this country, but in a hotel in this country, living it high on the hog. The front page of The Sun is even more annoying because they've got taunts of the TikTok migrant. This is a bloke who basically has been categorising his trip from France France to Britain. He's filmed himself on a dinghy, he's filmed himself getting into the dinghy, he's filmed himself on the dinghy, filmed himself getting all the way across the channel and into a hotel near Heathrow. Absolutely staggering stuff. My wish was to come to this hotel, the Crown Plaza in Heathrow on Sunday. Welcome to London, it's the best place. Now, this is a guy who has come to this country over the weekend after Yvette Cooper said that she was going to bring a stop to all of these illegal people coming to this country because they'd already started detaining them. That's what she said on Friday. She told us that she would give us, regular updates as to when they were going to be deported, why they were going to be deported, if we were going to have to face bringing more people into the country for those people who are being deported. Nobody seems to know anything at the Home Office. Nobody seems to be doing anything. Nobody seems to be in any way, shape or form in charge of the operation. What we do know is if you do come here, you will get free everything. You will not only get free food, you will get a free credit card so that you can go out and spend money as well on things that you might need for your own enjoyment. You might be able to go gambling. You might be able to go to a free football match. You might be able to go to a free comedy show. You might even be able to go on a free migrant dinghy ride because, I kid you not, that one of the local authorities that we spoke to this week is actually giving people free dinghy rides after coming here illegally on a dinghy. It doesn't make any sense at all. 0344 499 1000. Daily Express has also got a story. They're saying there are now 8 million people, a record number, on universal credit. The steep rise in claimants is driven by those who are not required to work. The huge rise has apparently come about because it means that 3.7 million people, 46% of whom receive universal credit, do not have to find a job. So there's 8 million people on universal credit, some of them work, but 3.7 million people actually don't work at all and don't have to. Incredible, isn't it? 0344 499 1000 is the number. Keep your ideas and your tweets coming. You can send us a voice note as well. This is Morning Glory. Let's get it on. Alan in Merseyside says this: people should be told that we are going to pay paying higher taxes in the autumn because Keir Starmer gave billions to the unions, Chagos and the migrants. That's just 3 things that we wasted money on, and we will be paying for them all in our taxes. Absolutely right. Well, we learned this week, didn't we, that the Chagos Islands deal has cost not 3.5 billion, but 35 billion because it was underestimated and lied about by Keir Starmer in Parliament, right? The migrant story is that millions and millions and millions of pounds is being spent every single day. So we're talking billions and billions of pounds, probably something like 10 billion in the year is what it's going to cost. And the unions, obviously we got 22 billion being given to the NHS. We got a bucket load of money being given to the ASLEF train drivers. We got loads and loads of money being given to the teachers. The nurses are going to be next. There's going to be more strikes as well over the course of the rest of the summer. Absolutely incredible. Let's get a voice note from Carl.
Morning, Mike. Carl from Norwich here. I'm absolutely sick to the back teeth of always paying out, funding the lifestyles of every Tom, Dick and Abdul in this country for doing nothing. I've always been the bloke who does the right thing. Go out, do my work, declare what I've done, put it all through the books, pay what I need to pay. But you know what, mate? I ain't doing that no more. I've got mates who are self-employed. They go out to work. They seemingly earn nothing. Yet, they go on 2 or 3 foreign holidays every year. They've got all the nice things. They're always out enjoying themselves, going away for weekends, etc., etc. And now I know why. And I used to criticise them all the time. Well, they're the ones doing the right thing. And that's what I'm now got to do. I'm got to follow suit. Never thought I'd say that, mate, but I've absolutely had a gutful of it. And that's what's going to happen. Thanks, mate.
Carl, listen, I wish you well. The trouble is more and more people are going to be like Carl. More and more people are going to say, what is the point? Why am I getting up at 6 o'clock every morning? Why am I working 2 jobs? Why am I paying all this tax? What on earth is it for? And who's getting it? A bunch of feckless people on benefits and a bunch of illegal scumbags come in here because they think they deserve a better life. I'm sorry. I think everyone has had enough. Esther McVeigh's here. Esther, very good morning to you.
Morning, good to be back with you, Mike.
Good to see you. I'm sorry to start off on a sort of an unhappy note, but Carl speaks for a lot of people in this country. You know, we get them more and more on this show. People who say, look, I've worked all my life, I've done everything right, I've never asked for a penny in return, I've never claimed a benefit, but now I'm getting to the point where I'm thinking, what's the point? Why don't I just do what everybody else does and claim and get something for nothing?
Yeah, well, he's saying what other people are thinking. My concern, and the reality is, society only works when those who are working hard, trying hard, providing for themselves and their family are see the rewards of their hard work, and those who aren't realise that that is the only path to take. You get into work, you pay into the system if you're going to take out of it, unless you are seriously disabled or unwell, and then society looks after you. Should the tipping point come, and those who are the hard workers paying in feel they are hard done by, society will crumble. So this Labour government, and I have to say, what is the point of Labour? What was the point in them winning a general election when they haven't a tickety-boo, they haven't a clue what they are doing, and they are not standing by the hard-working, good people, law-abiding people of this country.
Yeah, well, it's worse than that, because every time you turn around, whenever anything's going wrong and they get asked about it, they blame the Tories and say it's all your fault. Have a look at what Baroness Jackie Smith had to say yesterday.
This is a problem that has, up to this point, we haven't managed to tackle in terms of the numbers who are coming here. But it is a completely legitimate claim to say that that's because what is happening is the result of the last government that chose to focus on gimmicks through the Rwanda scheme that returned 4 volunteers. And
but it hadn't started. The Rwanda scheme hadn't started, but...
Well, it had, and it returned 4 people, and it cost £750 million. And what the last government hadn't done was to take the sort of powers that we've taken to get to the criminals who are responsible for this. You're right, internationally, which is why, as well, we've been willing to work with the French, with the Germans in a way that the last government wasn't willing or wasn't able to.
Yeah, I mean, she doesn't have a good word to say about the Tories. I don't suppose you would if you were her, but I mean, she was a pretty hopeless Home Secretary, I seem to remember, back in the day.
But all I would say is what a completely pathetic, spineless answer. And I notice this in life. When you've failed and the Smash the Gangs has failed, their 1 in, 1 out doesn't make sense. Their millions and millions, 700 million plus to France is not working, right? So what you do is you blame people who were in government, over a year ago. Now, their biggest mistake ever, which we've discussed before, is on day one, getting rid of the Rwanda plan. It was a plan. It was starting to work. It would have been deterrent. The National Crime Agency said it was a deterrent, but they got rid of that on day one without knowing what they would do. I'm afraid this government is spineless. It hasn't got what it takes to either come up with the solutions, take the hard work and the tough decisions to make these deterrents happen. I'm afraid, I think they need to go. This Labour government needs to go.
They really do. And we just reported on the fact that they've become even more unpopular, even just in the last few days. 68% of people in this country disapprove of what they're doing. Incredibly, 13% of people actually like what they're doing. I don't know who they are. Previously, some local asylum they found them in. But how about this, right? In the midst of all of the migrant nonsense, in the midst of the terrible stories about the numbers of people on universal credit, Keir Starmer's put out his first tweet of the day. We always keep an eye out for it around about 8 o'clock in the morning. He says no one should feel unsafe leaving their homes. From today, every neighbourhood across England and Wales has named contactable officers to tackle crime in our communities. Our plan for change in action. He probably should have said police officers, because it's not very clear what he means by that. But basically they're saying that they're ramping up the numbers of police in the communities of this country. Is that going to make any difference, do you think?
Well, look, I don't believe him. He's talking a load of rubbish, and we all know when the police are out there now, it's only to stop law-abiding citizens either coming to the streets to tell them what they think of that government, or whether it's parents on a WhatsApp group saying they don't like the appointment of a new teacher, the police will be round. Listen, I wrote a story in yesterday's Express, and I said this is like Sir Carry On, Sir Keir Starmer Carry On. This government now are like the cast from a Carry On film, only these aren't funny. So I said about Keir Starmer, he was Carry On Dick in true Carry On fashion. That's Dick Turpin, robbing us all blind, but being pious as thou. I said Rachel Reeves is Josh Fiddler from Carry On Camping, promising paradise, but looking for even more treacherous ways to take your money off you. And you've got Angela Rayner there, like Bernard Breslau, everyone out, or should we call her Sir Sidney Rough Diamond? I mean, this cabinet are a joke, and they don't know what they're doing. He said he'd clean up politics. I'm afraid all these ministers know is how to clean up in politics, getting their free accommodation, getting their free suits and getting their free glasses.
This is the problem, isn't it? And we've also now got a government which is literally a government of lies. They tell lies every day. They speak untruths which they know to be untrue, and yet nobody really holds them to account. And particularly at the moment, for example, with the Chagos Islands deal that we found out about this week and being grossly, underestimated by Keir Starmer, isn't it time that we had more possibilities of questioning the government in Parliament during the summer months? Because at the moment it feels as though it's a sort of rudderless kingdom. There's nobody really running the country, and there's nobody holding those people to account.
Mike, you hit the nail on the head. We, as in all MPs, need to be called back to Parliament immediately. This is a state of emergency when you see the numbers of people coming through. No, but what Keir Starmer would rather do is we're not there, so he can bring through ever more preposterous plans, like his new one in, one out policy, because he declared it was a new policy. We should have been voting on that. Now, no doubt Labour would have won because they've got a huge majority, but it should have been scrutinised. Nobody knows the cost, how it's going to work, the numbers in and out. No, this is a disgrace, and I'm afraid this is what Keir Starmer wants. He wants, like a dictator, only him in charge. He's pushing all this nonsense through onto the country while politicians aren't there. The best thing we could all do, which I've called for, and really maybe you, the home of common sense, needs to be calling for it as well, is get MPs back to Parliament. It's a state of emergency, and we need to be voting on all this rubbish this Labour government's bringing through.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we said that as well. What do you make of a story in the Telegraph today, which is a slightly more social one, I suppose, more than it is about the police? But it's a police commissioner for Thames Valley, police and crime commissioner for Thames Valley of Tory, actually, called Matthew Barber, who basically says that the public has a duty to stand up to shoplifters rather than relying solely on police officers. This comes a day after a Keir Starmer spokesman said that he would not regard or speak about shoplifters as scumbags.
Look, first of all, you need the police, the security on the door of shops to stand up to them. I think that's a strange thing to say, because what we don't want to is to put the public in harm's way. Yeah. But if he's saying the greater society needs to look upon this as a crime because it is theft, well, we're doing that anyway. People are calling into your show every day saying what a disgrace it is. That sign there from a shop owner saying scumbags, that's what he called thieves, I'll call them thieves, shoplifting from his shop. And what happened? The police came round and said, you've insulted somebody by using the word scumbag. The great thing I saw is when he was interviewed, he said, no, that word is completely accurate. Absolutely, it's accurate. But I'm afraid we need the police going in there. We need more CCTV, facial recognition, and these people being stopped. Look at them. Absolutely. The shameless, the brazen, the emboldened. You know, my concern, Mike, and I'll be honest with you, when it gets so bad, and in some of these shops it is so bad, so they'll either close and they won't be there on the high street anymore. When it gets that bad, who are we going to call in? Are we saying we're going to call our own military in to sort this out? It is so bad, because we need a short, sharp shock to everybody to say this is unacceptable. And that Alexander 420, the TikTok asylum seeker, he's sort of saying this is a world where you can steal and take and do whatever you want. No, it is not. The message needs to go out. This is unacceptable. Do not come here. And as I said, the Labour government need to get that Rwanda scheme back up and do everything it can to stop it. And most of all, the pulls of this country. He's bragging he's in a 4-star hotel. There should be no 4-star hotels. No. They should be, you know, in a campsite, do what they do in France, but not have them in luxury accommodation. The pulls are what's bringing people over here as well.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous what's going on. Great to speak to you. Esther McVeigh, thank you very much indeed. Former Minister for Common Sense, Tory MP, of course, as well. This from Andy in Mansfield, talking about Sam Timms, the economist from yesterday. He says, is Sam Timms an economist with a master's degree in economics from the London School of Economics? Very possibly so, a bit like Rachel Reeves. And this one from Emma, who says in Kent, great show, Mike, 50,000 migrants is nothing. It'll be 100,000 before we know it, unless they stop the incentives. It will never end unless something drastic happens, which it won't under this government. We have to come to the conclusion that they want the migrants to come. It makes me so angry that they think we are that stupid. We believe that their plans will work. Let's get a voice note from Simon on benefits.
Hi Mike, this is Simon from Nottingham. Getting really frustrated living in this country. As for these people that don't want to go to work, just stop the benefits. No money coming in. They'll have to go out, they'll have to work, and they'll have to look after the families else, you know, like we all do. Just bone idle, this country. Absolutely bone idle.
Simon, thank you very much indeed. 8 million people now on universal credit. It's not sustainable. You can't have that many people on universal credit. If you think about the number of adults in this country, say it's 45 million or something like that, you know, a fifth of them are actually on universal credit. That's crazy. It's madness. And you can't keep it up. It is not sustainable, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you that. 0344 499 1000. Coming up, Liam Halligan's going to talk to us about what's going on in the economy. Also, Ralph Schulhammer is going to be letting us know how the Greek experience is going when it comes to migration. They've managed to shut their borders and nobody is coming into the country. Also, Martina Bett, political correspondent at The Sun, is going to talk us through their big page 10 today, which is all about the death of the high street. This is Talk.
It's shocking. It's disgusting. It's actually genuinely repulsive that something like this could happen. That just because of his troubled background, I mean, we've all got troubled backgrounds to a certain extent, but we don't go around manhandling or abusing women and wrecking their lives in the process. It's outrageous. And, you know, we live in a country now, Jeremy, where a woman, a mother, is in jail and will be and has been for 31 months for writing something on social media. And this man did not spend 1 second in jail.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory. I'm Mike Graham. It's coming up to 8 to 22. We are here with you until 10 o'clock, of course, when it's time for Julie Hartley-Brewer. We're going to talk about page 10 in The Sun in a moment, which is by Theo Perfitis, who, of course, is the owner of high street retailers Ryman, Robert Dias and Boo Avenue. He's a TV dragon, of course, as well. He's written a piece saying, stop the high streets getting closed down. Stop the high streets looking like they are completely abandoned. We need taxation that wasn't thought up in the 1500s, is what he says. This from Becky in Peak District. She says, as these small boats belong to the traffickers, why isn't our border force seizing their assets and destroying them, as they do with other criminals' assets? And as for giving back the life jackets, that's unbelievable too. Thanks, Mike. Great show as always. I know, it's mad, isn't it? Absolutely crazy. Let's get a voice note from Wayne.
This is Wayne from Birmingham, Erdington, by the way. As you know, we can't get our bins emptied for love nor money around here. Giant rats everywhere. Somebody's been going around putting up England flags. Well, apparently the council have found money to hire contractors to take them all down. But we can't get our bins emptied. Keep up the good work, Mike, baby.
What is going on? What, they're taking the flags down? That's ridiculous. Apparently where flag flyers need to worry is when it comes to flagpoles projecting from any part of the building other than the roof. This is according to the rules of engagement, apparently. Consent is required if you live in a controlled area, such as an area of outstanding natural beauty. Well, not in Birmingham, I don't think. Sorry about that. I don't think you're going to get away with that one. Those failing to comply with the rules could be reported and fined up to £2,500. Well, surely you can have a flag, put a flag out the window, no? What if you haven't got a flagpole and you just want to put a flag up, you know, I don't know, in the front garden? What's the world coming to? I just don't know. If you've got any stories about trying to put flags up and being told you can't do it by the local council, I would love to hear those. So do get in touch. 0344 499 1000. We've got a piece of The Sun, though, this morning by Theo Paphitis, who is, of course, the TV dragon. Let's talk now to Martina Bett, political correspondent at The Sun, about what he has to say. Martina, how you doing?
Good morning, Mike. Very well. How are you?
Very well. Good to see you. Theo knows a thing or two about the High Street. He owns a couple of brands that have shops in the High Street. But I don't know about where you live, but where I live, there are lots and lots of shops which have just never really been replaced. You know, they disappeared during COVID. Even just around here, down the bottom of the escalator here underneath the news building, there's a couple of shops that have just never reopened.
Absolutely. It's a very visual problem because every one of us basically has encountered it. And as you mentioned earlier, Theo Paphitis is sounding the alarm over what he calls the tax system stuck in the 1500s that he says is driving Britain's high streets into the ground. And, you know, the basic problem that he says is that retail only makes up about 5% of the UK economy, yet it pays more than 20% of all business rates. So this is sort of like a massive imbalance that obviously punishes shops that, you know, open in the morning, every morning, employ local people and keep those town centres alive. And there's some interesting figures that he's got in his column. You know, he says that at the start of the year, there were 100,000 fewer jobs in retail than the year before. You know, that's the same as losing every single job in the steel industry 3 times over. So, you know, the impact of this that this is having on the high street is incredibly stark.
Yeah. I mean, I guess some of it can be put down to online businesses as well, people buying stuff online and not actually going to a shop. My other reason, particularly for complaining about local sort of towns where people don't go shopping anymore, is that some of the local councils have put so many restrictions on parking that you can't park in the street without getting a parking ticket, or you can't park in the street without having to buy some kind of parking ticket, and people can't be bothered doing that. So they go to supermarkets, they go to kind of, you know, retail parks. They don't really want to go to the high street anymore because it's not so easy to do.
Absolutely, and we've had many articles in The Sun over the past year, especially during the Christmas time, talking about exactly the same issue that, about parking, that people would just turn to online shopping and, you know, internet sales. And it is said so in the column as well, that they've more than doubled in the last decade, you know, peaking at 37% of all retail during the pandemic. And, you know, while they've dipped slightly, they're still booming. Yet what you're saying is that these companies do not face, nothing like the same tax burden. And, you know, he argues that they contribute next to nothing to the tax receipts that, of course, fund the NHS, the police, public services. But, you know, from a political point of view, I think this puts Labour in a quite tricky spot, because we know that Rachel Reeves needs to raise taxes in the autumn budget. But, you know, she needs to do so with without looking like the Chancellor who killed a high street. And, you know, a wave of boarded up shop fronts would be the most visible sign. Like, we're talking about those, the visuality, you know, that would be one of the most visible signs of an economy in decline. And, you know, voters really notice when a town turns into a ghost town.
Right. And of course, a lot of people, you know, and my kids included, in lots of parts of the country where they used to go and get a sort of shop job, the first job that they got when they were 15 or 16, or, you know, with a paper round or work at a newsagents or something like that. Those jobs just aren't available for kids anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. It's you know, from the high street, it's not sort of like just boarded up shop fronts. You know, sort of a struggling high street can mean many things. As you said, jobs for younger people, you know, fewer reasons to visit, means cafes, hairdressers, pubs, and market stores all take a hit. Talking about public transport, of course, that could get cut back because passenger numbers fall. But also when you look at crime and antisocial behaviour, you know, those often creep in as empty units attract vandalism. And so there's loads of problems that come out of the, like, you know, the high street dying. So, you know, there's also the social impact. You know, high streets are where people bump into neighbours, meet for coffee.
Yeah.
So there's loads of problems.
Yeah, there really are. And so, I mean, Theo's written this piece in the paper today. Does he have a sort of a remedy for how to fix it all?
Well, you know, he says that there's a problem that lots of governments have sort of ducked to just reform business rates. You know, he says you wouldn't just, you know, when a shop shuts, bus routes get quieter. He's talking about, you know, just trying to reform the whole business rate system because he says that imbalance is really stark.
Yeah, it really is difficult, isn't it? Martina, good to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed. Martina Bett there talking to us about what Theo Pafitis has to say about the state of our high streets. He's basically talking about changing the retail tax engagement. He says, let's not forget that a healthy high street with tills ringing means more money into the coffers of the Treasury, which in turn gives the economy a much needed boost. But I know from talking to many of you, and I'll take your calls on this as well, that if you are running a small business or a shop in a small town or even in a big city, you will be absolutely inundated with the most ridiculous rules, the most ludicrous kind of, you know, red tape that you can imagine. Planning permission for this, you know, jobs worth turning up and saying, oh, you can't sell that. I remember talking to a lady in Birmingham, I think it was Birmingham, who had a real issue with the cops who came around during COVID, who tried to stop her from selling certain types of food because you were able to open a shop if you were selling food, but if you weren't selling food, you couldn't open the shop. And she started selling food in order to keep the shop open, and they tried to shut it down and said, oh, you can't sell food. That's not what you do. You know, it's ridiculous. Meanwhile, of course, lots of you have got in touch about all manner of things, especially the migrants. David says this, morning, Mike. Of course, these migrants will keep coming as there's very little risk. They are seen off on the beach by the French police, then given life jackets and water, then escorted to the English side of the channel, where we pick them up and give them a nice lift to our shores. Just leave them to get here themselves instead of picking them up and see how many want to cross. Stop picking them up. That would be a start. I could not agree more. Absolutely right. Incredible. Let's find out what the letters page is saying in The Sun.
Letters from The Sun, the page where you tell Britain what to think. For more, visit thesun.co.uk.
And lots of you talking about the Edmund King piece yesterday that we reported on. We, of course, had Edmund King on the show as well. He was writing about the new rules for drivers, where if you're over 70, you're going to have to take more of an eye test on a regular basis. And if you are going to consider driving after you've had a drink, you won't be able to have quite as much to drink as you would have done. Thank you, Edmund King, says Nora in Berkshire, president of the AA, for sticking up for pensioners over the government's planned driving ban if they don't pass an eye test at 70. He notes that young drivers can pose a danger too, and he's right. You don't often read that 4 or 5 pensioners have died in a car that hit a tree. That's true. Having said that, I do believe eye tests should be mandatory for older drivers, and if they don't comply, they should lose their licence. I'm a retired commercial driver, but still have an eye test every year because I rely on my car to give me freedom. And Brian in Nottingham says, I'm not against mandatory eye tests for drivers, but surely it should apply to all ages. A lot of older people have regular eye tests, whereas many young people don't. And Robert in Plymouth says a driver at 70 is generally safer and more experienced on the road than boy racers in their 20s. I trust a pensioner behind the wheel more than someone who speeds. I think there's probably some truth to that, but I guess there is a point at which the crossover happens. And Edmund said yesterday it tends to be about 80 years of age when people become slightly more impaired and slightly less able to do what they used to do when they were 70. Simple as that, really. It's 8:32. Lots more to come. This is Talk.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory. It's 8:34. I'm Mike Graham. Talking of gimmicks, remember crush the vans, says Stephen. Fly tippers, we will use drones and identify you and crush the vans. Yeah, I completely forgot about crush the vans. What an absolute waste of time this government is. Any vans been identified and crushed? Only drone is Keir Starmer droning on, says Stephen Darby. Yeah, isn't that great? Maybe we should do that. Maybe we should have, like, the next sort of hour and a half, any slogans that you remember this government coming out with that they didn't bother doing anything about. You know, smashing the gangs, crushing the vans. What else did they say they were going to do that they never did? I never saw a van crushed. I don't think anybody else did. Brad from Bicester says, Mike, I saw J.D. Vance's motorcade on the A404. I wonder if he picked up on the state of the place. Lack of public service. Yeah, I don't know. Who can say? Morning, Mike, says David in Blantyre. Great to see JK on your show. It's like a bog-off deal. I'm fed up. Started work at 6. I finish at 9. That's 6 days a week for the last 50 years working. Why do I bother? Thanks again. Loving the show, even though it gets my blood boiling every morning. Yeah, I met somebody yesterday who wanted a picture, I think, and the husband wanted a picture, and the wife said, I can't watch your show. It makes my blood boil. It makes me so angry. I'm like, I'm really sorry, but that's kind of what we do, you know. But it's not meant to make you laugh as well, hopefully. Let's get a voice note from Jeff.
Hey up, Mike. I'm just thinking, if Rachel Reeves wants to tax gifts as part of inheritance tax, and there are going to be situations arise such as this, where, for example, a parent may buy a car for their children on their 18th birthday, then the parent unexpectedly dies. Then the government are then going to be chasing the 18-year-old kid for tax at a time of extreme distress for them, when they're probably not going to have the money at 18 years old. I mean, what a stupid idea. Tax is theft.
Well, this is it. I mean, the front page of the Daily Telegraph today has got families face fresh inheritance tax grab, because as we get closer and closer to, the time of reckoning, which I suppose is November, for the November budget with Rachel Reeves, basically she's grasping at almost anything she can get her hands on to try and look as if she's actually raising some money, because there's not really anywhere she can go. They got defeated on the welfare cuts that they were going to make, and which weren't really cuts anyway. It was going to be £5 billion that they didn't want to spend, that they would have otherwise spent. So it wasn't really actually making anything smaller. We now know there's 8 million people on universal credit. So the exchequer bill goes up and up and up, and more migrants have arrived. We see them now running towards the boats on the other side of the channel. It's just getting ridiculous. We don't have enough money. We don't have enough people making enough money. We've got people leaving the country who would otherwise be paying tax. And we've got shops, as you just heard from Theo Pafitas' piece in The Sun, no longer operating because they can't afford it. So the tax take is down massively. Let's talk to Liam Halligan, columnist at The Telegraph, a man who knows a thing or two about the economic cycle. Liam, very good morning to you.
Good to see you, Mike.
Yeah, good to see you. I mean, people are going to look at this inheritance tax grab and just go, you know, for heaven's sake, you know, we've worked all our lives, we've tried to provide for our children, we've tried to, you know, make it so that we're never reliant on the government for any help at all, and now you're going to come after us for that and punish us?
Indeed, I think inheritance tax is a particularly egregious tax because, of course, you're being taxed on assets that you bought out of income that had already been taxed. And, of course, let's not forget that the inheritance tax threshold for individuals has been pretty much frozen, Mike. Get this, since 2009.
Wow.
It's the worst example of what we call fiscal drag in our country at the moment. Fiscal drag is when a tax threshold stays where it is, even though wages and prices go up. So you get dragged in. I mean, a lot of people watching and listening will know that you don't start paying income tax, for instance, until you get to 12.5 grand.
Right.
That threshold's been there for absolutely ages. So as wages and prices go up, more and more people get dragged into tax. And I think you're right. Rachel Reeves is desperate to raise money. A lot of the tax rises she's already introduced, not least the increase in employer national insurance contributions. That's caused hiring to fall off a cliff. Right. We saw those numbers yesterday. Her increase in the rate of capital gains tax has caused receipts to fall off a cliff because no one's selling anything because they don't want to crystallise those gains. Sticking VAT on independent education. The vast majority of people sending their kids to independent schools, you know, they're working all hours, mum and dad, grandma, granddad, everyone chipping in. But lots of people can't afford independent education now. So those numbers are falling. So the amount of tax you get from those schools is going down because the schools are closing.
Right.
So everywhere she goes, trying to raise tax rates, she's ending up with less tax revenue. And Mike, you and I have talked about this in the past. That's really, really worrying financial markets because every month she's borrowing billions of pounds, the vast majority of which now she's spending on interest on the country's existing debt. It's a Ponzi scheme, as we've often said here on Talk.
Yeah, and I mean, the numbers every day that we look at them get worse, don't we? We've got 50,000 migrants have come over since last July, which is already going to probably be 51,000 by tomorrow, because it was 500 again that came yesterday. We got a picture being painted by the front page of the Daily Express, 8 million people on universal credit, you know, more, I think 200,000 more people out of work than there were when Rachel Reeves started her speech last November, you know, and literally an extra 3.7 million people who are basically written off from work for the rest of their lives.
Well, this isn't what Beveridge meant. William Beveridge, of course, was the Liberal guy who was asked by the Conservatives to create a national health service, a welfare state that was then introduced by the Labour Party in very much a cross-party measure after the Second World War, of course. What he didn't envisage was the fact that people would live much, much longer. Life expectancy's obviously gone up, which has pushed up the size of the welfare state. But the welfare state was meant to be there as a safety net, not a lifestyle choice, Mike.
Right.
And I'm afraid in our lifetimes, and it really is in our adult lifetimes, actually, you've had politicians who basically want to put people on welfare benefits, so then they become kind of client voters. Gordon Brown specialised in this, but I'm afraid it carried on with his working families tax credit. It carried on under the Conservatives. Ian Duncan Smith tried to make eligibility criteria harsher, not with massive success. But the universal credit bill, as you say, is 8 million people. That's actually getting on for 1 in 4 of the workforce. It's about 24%. And the bill for this, Mike, is absolutely eye-watering. We're already spending the thick end of 80 billion a year on universal credit. That's equivalent to about 10p on the basic rate of income tax. And that's due to go up to 100 billion by the end of this parliament.
Right.
So it's going to go up by, 25%, the bill for universal credit, even if we stand still. And yet, as more and more people feel that, Britain's a soft touch, and with Labour in charge, there's a sense that it's a free-for-all when it comes to the welfare state. That bill's going up and up. And I've been listening to your listeners this morning, the voice notes we've had. Yeah, Bone Idol, the chap from Nottingham, and he's completely right. A lot of people feel that the rest of the country is, as we say on a family show, extracting the urine, Mike.
Exactly right. Well, let's have a look at Rachel Reeves and what she said yesterday, because if you can make any sense of this, you're a better man than I am. This is her talking about unemployment.
That employment, since I became Chancellor last year, is 384,000 higher, so 384,000 more jobs in the economy than there were just over a year ago when I came into office. And although the number of people who are unemployed increased slightly on the quarter, the number of people who are economically inactive actually fell by much more, I think 3 times more, than the increase in unemployment.
I'm not quite sure what she's trying to say there. I'm not quite sure what the point
Right,
of
what is she saying? Let's just unpack it. The reason there are more people at work is because a lot of people haven't been hired by companies and are now self-employed. That's what's actually happening.
Right.
And also, Labour say they wanted to end the so-called gig economy by upping the rate of national insurance to the extent she did to 15% for employers. And crucially, Mike, lowering the threshold at which you start paying national insurance from about 12 grand to 5 grand. A lot of those little part-time jobs, they're not now being being offered.
Right.
The employment numbers we saw yesterday, the biggest drop in employment was among youngsters, people in their teens and 20s. Those little entry jobs, those first jobs you get either down the pub or working in a shop.
Yeah, they've all gone, haven't they?
The hospitality and retail jobs are much harder to find than they were. Why? Because employers aren't replacing people that they're laying off. And what Rachel Reeves is grasping at there is that there are more people in jobs, but that's because self-employment's gone up, because people aren't being offered the formal jobs. So rather than the gig economy getting smaller, it's getting bigger because employers are relying on self-employed people. They're saying to people, go self-employed, sort out your own tax. I can't afford the NIC payment for you. I can't afford the extra benefits. I can't afford to give you job security. And then on top of this, the fact that the NIC's gone up, so more people are going self-employed, you've then got this 1970s Tribute Act, which is the Employment Rights Bill, right? So if you actually employ someone, Mike, it's going to be like France. You get access to, you can take someone to a tribunal, maternity leave, sickness leave, and all the rest of it from day one. From day one.
Yeah, I know.
That's moronic.
It's absolutely mad. But there's no end to it, though, Liam, is there? I mean, how does it end, this? What do you think?
Well, I think, look, just on that previous point, no one minds people having decent rights, but we've got to be realistic. Yeah. Britain is run by small and medium-sized enterprises, as we've often discussed. I know that in my bones, and I know that you do too. But those small and medium-sized enterprises, the crucial moment in any business is when you go from, 1 or 2 people, often family members. Are you going to take on more people? Are you going to take on that first, non-family member employee, another one? This is how companies grow. And the sums to do that now simply aren't adding up because of these employer NIC charges, because the minimum wage has gone up so much more than inflation. The minimum wage for youngsters went up by almost 17%.
Yeah.
Insane. I mean, how can employers actually afford to do that?
Right.
And I think that the problem you've got, and it wasn't a problem under the last Labour government, it wasn't a problem under Blair and even Brown, because you had people knocking about on the front bench that actually understood business, that had actually been in business, that had actually, employed people, laid awake at night thinking about how they're going to make payroll, how they're going to pay the bills. This lot, they're mainly public sector people, almost to a man and woman, or they've worked in the parts of the private sector that interact all the time with the public sector. I just think this is ideological, Mike. An ideology, of course, is an excuse for thinking problems through and actually working out what is going to make the world a better place. And my concern now is that the more she tries to raise tax rates, the more she is going to come up against the buffers of reality, and you're going to actually see tax revenues fall because our higher tax rates on employers, that's what we're talking about this morning, but across the board are going to hammer the economy. They're going to slow down growth. And when growth slows, we're seeing it now, the economy's contracted, GDP's fallen for the last 2 months on which we've got data, April and May. there's a new number coming out for June later this week. When the economy contracts, Mike, you get less tax revenue and you spend more on benefits and unemployment and other support. That pulls apart the public finances in both directions. And that's where we are. That's why they're having to borrow so much money. And that's why, since the Bank of England cut interest rates last week, Mike, I'm just about to put a Substack post out on this, on when the facts change. I thought I'd get that in. When the Bank of England cut interest rates last week, its policy rates, since then, hang on to your hat, Mike, borrowing costs for the government have gone up a lot, which is not meant to happen.
No.
Because the markets do not believe what the Bank of England is saying about inflation.
That's a shocking state of affairs.
That is unbelievable. I've not seen this. I've not seen this.
And what we've
I've been doing this a long time.
I know you have, and this is why we like to talk to you. And have a look at this, though. We had a guy on yesterday who called himself an economist from the same school of economics, I think, as Rachel Reeves, from the Joseph Rowntree Foundation. Right, his name is Sam Timms. He's one of their senior guys, and just get a load of this. You won't believe it. Let me just clarify. You want to give more money to those people who don't generate money, and you want the people who generate the money to give that money to the government in tax. That's what you want to do.
First of all, increasing the minimum wage, one of the points you just mentioned, that is a significant boost to low-income families, and that's putting more money in their pocket through work. Low-income households do typically spend the vast majority of their money. The other point here is that...
Yeah, but then if you gave them more money, Sam, why are they not spending it then, and why is there no growth?
The most efficient way to stimulate the economy will be through social security.
No, it won't. And I've had enough of this. I'm sorry, Sam, you're talking absolute cobblers. Get lost. I mean... This guy thought genuinely.
I didn't say what you mean, Mike.
I mean, this guy said the best way to stimulate the economy was to give people more benefits, give more people universal credit. That was his answer.
Look, I think this it's such a shame. Look, just to start, the Joseph Rowntree Foundation has actually done some great work over the years, and there are some decent people working there.
Well, he's not one of them.
It's one of our most distinguished charities. It's been around a long time. But I'm afraid what Sam is saying is just so outdated in terms of economic thought. He's right. If you give people money that haven't got lots of money, they spend it, right? That's why, if you cut taxes and give people more, people can keep more of their money. That's the way you boost the economy. The problem that we've got is that he doesn't seem to understand, as a lot of people working, I'm afraid, in the so-called third sector, charities and so on, many of whom are decent people, as I've said, they don't seem to understand that it's not about just having a cake and grabbing a bit of the cake for people who you want. It's about growing the cake, particularly when your population's growing so quickly. It's about growing the cake in a way that you're not borrowing so much money that financial markets absolutely freak out and then start charging you insane amounts of interest, and then you go bankrupt. Okay, this bankruptcy happens very, very slowly and then very quickly. That's what history shows. You cannot abolish the fact. And I've heard, I've had conversations with cabinet ministers, people who are now cabinet ministers about this. Can't we just abolish the bond markets? No, you want to abolish all contract law, because those bond markets, that's your pension, that's your insurance, that's your credit rating. That's what allows everyone in the country to borrow money, right? That allows us to not live in caves, to actually do things, projects, do engineering, do everything that a civilized country does. And the problem with the kind of thing we just heard, however well meant, is that it's got to the point where you have people who are so kind of, I'm afraid to say this, puffed up on their own self-importance and so convinced that everyone that disagrees with them is evil that they won't listen to reality. And the reality is that this country is now paying, 5.5% for 30-year money. And when we're borrowing, 20 billion quid a month, as we did last month, we're spending 16 billion quid of that on debt interest. So we're borrowing money massively to pay interest on our existing debt. It's not like, you've got a credit card, Mike, and I know you're partial to a bit of shoe and handbag shopping, right? And you go out and you have a bit of a bender Selfridges, other department stores are available, and you get all the stuff home, and then you think, oh my God, I've maxed out on this credit card. I know, I'll get another credit card to pay off that credit card.
Right.
It's not even like that, however bad that is. It's like getting a credit card to pay a new credit card to pay the interest on the existing credit card.
Yeah.
You've still now got the debt on both.
Completely bonkers. It's mad. Listen, Liam, we could talk all day, but I've got to run. Thank you very much indeed. Good to see you. Liam Halligan, making perfect sense, talking from the Telegraph there. He's a columnist there, of course. We've got some pictures of Rachel Reeves. I'll hold on to them. I'll show them in a minute. Let's get Elle on inheritance tax.
I've spent the whole of my life working. I've managed to buy a house. I had to buy my house back off the family because my mum went into a care home. So the house that I should have inherited, I had to buy back at full market value. That's one thing. With the inheritance tax, because I'm single, if you're married, you get your 325,000 each plus a further 175,000 each to pass on to direct family, meaning you can leave $1 million. But me being single, I'm penalised. I can only live 500,000. Well, where I live, the house itself is probably going to be worth that. So when I die, even though I've lived in this house for 53 years, I won't even be able to pass it on to my children because they'll have to find money for a tax bill.
Unbelievable, isn't it? Shocking. Absolutely shocking. I'll tell you what we're going to do next. We're going to talk about Crete, a place in Greece where they've managed to stop migration altogether because they actually know what they're doing. This is Talk.
So in order to deport asylum seekers without allowing them to claim asylum, which was what the Tories want to do and which was deemed to be illegal, you would have to leave the ECHR.
Correct.
The ECHR is a piece of legislation that underpins, for example, the Good Friday Agreement in Northern Ireland. So if you were to pull out of that international agreement, you are putting lives in danger in Northern Ireland. That's certainly not something I'd want to do.
That's not quite true, is
not
it?
something I'd want to
That's
see
not
the
quite
government
true,
do.
because you can guard against that by providing domestic legislation that would run in parallel with what is already there.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory. It's coming up to very nearly 9 o'clock with the final hour of the show. We're going to speak in a moment to Ralph Schulhammer, a researcher on political theory and international relations. How about this, though, first from Reg. I'm 59 years old, Mike. I'm a delivery driver and I've worked manually all my life. I've noticed in the last couple of years I'm struggling a bit in the mornings, the knees, the back, the wrists, but I still get up and I still come at the end of the day. I'm knackered. All I want to do is sleep. I tend to have a nap through my lunch break now because I'm a little bit older and I still feel guilty if I don't put in 4 weeks' work. A full week's work. Yeah, I know. Listen, people work really, really hard and they pay a lot of tax and it's getting worse. And now that you're being told you won't even be able to hand it down to your kids with without them taking another 40% off you. Absolutely shocking. Ralph is here, though, to talk to us about Crete, because in Crete, they've had a rather interesting experiment. What they've done is they've told all the illegal migrants, if you come here illegally, we will put you straight into a detention centre. We will then pack you back onto a boat and take you back to North Africa. You will never, ever find yourself living as a free man or woman in Greece. And I think it seems to be working. Ralph, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike. I hope you can hear me. I'm in a hotel, so I hope the audio is as reliable as it should be.
Yeah, you are absolutely coming over loud and clear. I don't know if it's a migrant hotel, but, you know, in which case you'll be getting all your free food and your lodging and all the rest of it. Greece have finally managed to show the rest of Europe how to do it, by the looks of it, right?
Well, there's an old saying we have in German, what we call the normative power of facts. And what happened in Greece, particularly in Crete, they had an increase in illegal migration between 2024 and 2025 of 350%, because the Italians closed down their routes with a deal they made with one of the regimes in Libya. So like in a game of whack-a-mole, they just moved on from the Italian route now to the Crete route.
Yeah.
And now the Greeks are up to do something, and you're absolutely right. They decided for what on the surface looks like a rather harsh method, but they have no choice. I mean, the local government in Crete correctly said, we have 4 million tourists come every year. We live off this. Like, this is our economic lifeline. Crete would be dead without tourists. And to say, if we have up to 9,000 migrants coming on shore every day, understandably, people are going to leave. So it's either illegal immigrants or tourists. And completely understandable, right? The Greeks, or the Cretes in this case, opted for tourism, which is their very right. These people, just to be very clear, because the same goes on in the UK, the native populations of the European countries also have a right to economic prosperity and to be the makers of their own destinies. Right. I think what the Greeks are doing was long overdue. And I think we're going to see similar things in other European countries in the near future.
Yeah, absolutely right. Because I read a piece in The Sun, I think it was this week, they sent a reporter out there, and they said that they'd actually had no boat landings in the entire previous week from when they used to get loads. They used to get dozens and dozens, you know, every single day. They now don't get any.
Yeah, this is, remember during the first Trump campaign when people said, oh, if you build a 20-foot wall, then somebody will have a 30-foot ladder. Walls don't help. Border controls don't help. People will always find a way, yada, yada, yada. Of course it helps. As you just said, if you signal to people and demonstrate that if you come to Crete, if you come, doesn't matter what the place is, you will be detained and then brought back. At some point, people will stop coming, right? Because you create the right incentive structures. The problem is, and this is the same issue in the UK, of course, immediately all these human rights lawyers, these NGOs, the entire cottage industry that has been built around the topic of migration jumped into action. I mean, this is the other issue here. There are people who make a very good living of being advocates for mass migration. So their economic interest is quite on the forefront compared to the guy who owns a small hotel in Crete.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, we've had Amnesty International already been critical of this government's policy, which is the one in, one out policy, which is actually not a decent immigration policy at all, because what it means is you actually still get, net more people in the country, whereas the Greek method is to stop them coming in altogether, and that's surely the only way to solve this problem.
No, you're absolutely right, and we should not forget, whether it's Amnesty International or even the European Convention on Human Rights, these were inventions that started in the 1950s and were designed for the Cold War scenario. But you talked about, Alexander Solzhenitsyn's trying to come to the West. You talked about Hungarians fleeing to Austria. So this was a very, very clear purpose. This purpose is lost, so they are now desperately searching for ways to keep themselves relevant and now have become mass migration advocates. But all these frameworks, legally, institutionally, they are no longer up to the task. Right? This idea that human rights is basically now code for mass migration. I'm very sorry. If you look at every single ruling over the last 24 months by the European courts, by the European Court of Human Rights, it's pretty much all pro-mass migration.
Yeah,
I mean,
I know. It's got to stop. I mean, it's almost as though somebody's engineered it. Listen, Ralph, great to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed. Ralph Scholhammer there. Coming up in the next hour, we're going to go to speak to Theo Usherwood about the latest news from Westminster. This, of course, is Morning Glory.
Is it transphobic to say only women have a cervix?
Well, it is something that shouldn't be said. It is not right. A woman is an adult female, and the court has made that absolutely clear. I actually welcome the judgment because I think it gives real clarity. It allows those that have got to draw up guidance to be really clear about what that guidance should say. If you want to fight for Remain, vote Labour. Now, there are some who say we don't need Brexit to work. We need to reverse it. I couldn't disagree more. Day after day, there are new allegations of sleaze, of favours, of privileged access. And it's all very well the Prime Minister saying, well, say now, well, I'm paying for it.
You've decided to repay £6,000 worth of gifts.
Lord Ali is facing an investigation. I wonder how concerned you are that your biggest donor was not fully transparent.
Are you saying you made a mistake?
It was right for me to make those repayments. Thank you. Of course, I wouldn't want Donald Trump round for dinner, but don't underestimate the danger to the world if Trump is re-elected this time around. I'm anti-Trump. I would like to send my warmest congratulations to President Trump on his inauguration as the 47th President of the United States.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory. It's coming up to very nearly 5 minutes past 9. I'm Mike Graham with you all the way through, of course, until 10 o'clock. Coming up, we're going to be giving you a run-through of all the stuff in the morning papers. The Sun leading this morning with the taunts of the TikTok migrant. This is a guy who has been filming himself as he makes his way across the channel. Basically, he streams to 1 million people from his free hotel room, and he brags, "Tell your pals to come. It's great over here. My wish was to come to this hotel," he says, with the Crown Plaza in Heathrow. He came on Saturday morning across the channel, and by Sunday afternoon he was ensconced in the hotel. Lovely picture of some nice pillows, a nice bedside table, a nice lamp. He says, "Welcome to London. It's the best place." He basically puts out this video in which he encourages everybody to come to this country. He doesn't actually say exactly who he is, but he's known as Alexandra 420. He said his wish had come true, and it was the best place during a TikTok live stream during his accommodation findings in Heathrow. Basically, he's one of course, more than 50,000 people who have come to this country illegally since Keir Starmer became Prime Minister. Absolutely extraordinary stuff. Front page is also full of a picture which is really a quite chilling picture of migrants flooding into Britain, as it says on the front page of the Daily Telegraph. They're running through the shallows in Calais, just off the coast. You can see the French sand dunes in the background, and you can see these guys, some of them covering their faces, but all of them obviously coming from sub-Saharan Africa, the Far East as well. Some of them who look as if they might have come from Afghanistan. They're running for a boat because they know that if they can get on that boat, they will indeed make it over here. The front page of the Daily Mail says, "Smashing the gang's latest," with the same picture, as the number of channel migrants hits 50,000 since Keir Starmer scrapped Rwanda. Labour's Home Office Minister has the brass neck to claim it is not our fault. Well, I'm afraid it is. The Times has got the same picture. Channel boat migrants arriving at record speed. They are getting here faster and faster and faster. 500 came yesterday, so the number is already breaking through the 51,000 barrier. Absolutely incredible stuff. Front page of the Times also has a story saying a Chinese company could be taking over Thames Water, which is going to be a bit of a blow to those people who don't think China should be getting their hands on anything to do with our infrastructure. If they get their hands on Thames Water, what does that mean for the rest of us? Record 8 million people on universal credit is what it says on the front page of the Daily Express. And the Telegraph's got a story that says, according to a police and crime commissioner for Thames Valley, a Tory by the name of Matthew Barber, the public has a duty to stand up to shoplifters rather than relying solely on the police. So if you see somebody shoplifting, according to him, you should tackle them, take them down, and start punching the hell out of them. Really? Is that the advice? I don't think so. 7 minutes past 9. This is Morning Glory. Let's get it on. Natasha says this: Rachel Reeves is no friend to the young. My son has had a pub job during the holidays for the past 5 years. There were always loads of shifts, but not since April. Very noticeable this summer, as the staff are only getting a couple of short shifts a week. If they're lucky, it is hurting youth employment. That's absolutely right. I mean, both of my young kids in Sussex haven't been able to find jobs in the summer because there just isn't anything going in that part of the world because nobody's hiring. Nobody's giving anybody any work. And that is purely and simply the work of Rachel Reeves. Let's have a look at what she looks like, because we've got a side-by-side picture, I think, if we can see it, of Rachel Reeves yesterday compared to... Do you remember the day after she burst into tears? That's on the right-hand side, where she went out and did that kind of Fleetwood Mac-style Rumours album, posing around, making it look as if she was happy as Larry. On the left, she looks a little bit more troubled, I would say, and that's the toll that all of that stuff trying to ruin the economy takes on you. Let's get a voice note from Macca.
Hi, Mike. Isn't it about time we had a pledge of allegiance to the country for every citizen? And then if any immigrant who breaks that allegiance or doesn't say the pledge will not be entitled to live here at all?
Yeah, well, I mean, we could do that. I mean, there's all many manner of things that we could do. The trouble is nobody seems to be able to enforce any kind of, policy on these people. Anyway, Keir Starmer talks about smashing the gangs, right? He didn't smash anything. He talks about crushing the vans. We talked about this earlier as well. He also talks about, the one-in, one-out scheme and going after anybody that comes to this country illegally. He actually said, and maybe we can find it from last week, I remember he actually said, if you come to this country illegally, you will be detained and you will be returned to whence you came. Since he said that, more people have come than ever, right? At least 1,500 to 2,000 people have come since he said that, and not one of them has been deported. Not one, right? They said they detained some people last Friday. We don't know what happened to them. Rachel Reeves has no money in the bank to pay for this, and yet we're still paying billions and billions and billions of pounds. This one from Olivia: where is the law that says we have an obligation to house and feed them? Can't they change the law? Well, there isn't a law that says that, The law of what you might call the Human Rights Brigade is that we must look after them and that we must offer them sanctuary. But I don't think there's a law that says we have to do that at all. Let's talk to Theo Usherwood, political commentator. Just before that, a bit of breaking news. Volodymyr Zelensky is in Berlin today, where he's going to have talks with European leaders and Donald Trump, apparently, virtually, about Ukraine. Donald Trump, of course, heading to Alaska for his meeting with Vladimir Putin on Friday. Theo's here, though. Theo, very good morning to you.
Very good morning to you, mate.
I mean, as I think back to just 1 week ago, before we went breaking through the 50,000 migrant barrier, I'm pretty sure I remember Keir Starmer saying, anyone that comes here illegally will be detained and will be returned. As far as I know, that hasn't happened.
There's been no detail on it. Of course, as you rightly pointed out in your Sun column of a week ago, there was no detail of exactly how this was going to happen, just some vague promises. And the problem continues to get worse. We've now surpassed the 50,000 mark of the number of migrants that have crossed the English Channel since Keir Starmer became Prime Minister at the beginning of July last year. Very shortly, we will have reached the point at which more migrants will have crossed the English Channel during Keir Starmer's 13 months in government compared to the 19 months that Rishi Sunak was Prime Minister. That's how bad the problem has got. In the 6 months...
That's amazing.
For the first half of the year, the number of crossings is up 48% on the same half of 2024. So that's how bad the problem is getting now, and it's not. And Jackie Smith, the former cabinet minister under Tony Blair, former Home Secretary, who's now an education minister and now a peer, making the argument, well, it's the fault of the last lot. Actually, the problem has got worse since Keir Starmer.
Quite substantially worse.
Quite substantially worse, 50% worse since Keir Starmer became Prime Minister. And he took the decision that the Rwanda scheme needed to be scrapped rather than pressing ahead and trying to make the Rwanda scheme work. And that's on Keir Starmer. That was his second day in office, in his first proper press conference as Prime Minister in number 10 Downing Street. He immediately scrapped the Rwanda scheme. And we saw the effects. The problem, it didn't solve the problem, but the numbers did go down with that scheme from 46,000 down to 29,000 a year. So the numbers were going in the right direction. But now we're facing the prospect of actually the number of crossings surpassing 50,000, maybe getting as high as 60 or 70,000 in a calendar year by this December.
Yeah, no question about it, because there's already, I would say, up to 51,000, because we broke through the barrier with 400 coming, I think, on Sunday. It then turned out there was about another 500 that came on Monday, so practically 1,000 people in just 2 days, which will take it well up to very nearly 51,000 if memory serves. And the problem is that, as I say, they keep saying things which turn out not to be true. I mean, we've got Yvette Cooper from last week. Let me play you this, right? She said this on Friday, that she was going to bring us regular updates on what was going on. Check it out.
We'll provide regular updates for the public at every stage. That's why I'm confirming today that the pilot has now started and the first migrants who arrived on small boat are now in detention. The transfers to immigration removal centres are underway as we speak, so we won't provide operational details at this point that criminal gangs can simply use and exploit.
Well, they won't provide details so that criminal gangs can't use and exploit them, but they won't provide details at all, because it turns out that since Friday, which is now, what, good 4 or 5 days ago, we've heard nothing. I've looked at Yvette Cooper's Twitter. The last tweet that she put out was on the 7th of March. It's now, the 7th of August. It's now the 13th of August.
We do have actually proper transparency. We have proper transparency from the migrants who are crossing the channel.
Yeah,
a superb exclusive on the front page of the Sun about what they're posting on TikTok, and that's the message that's going to other migrants right across Europe and as far afield, no doubt, as places like Afghanistan, North Africa. Come to this country. Look what you can get. That looks like a 4-star, distinctly like a 4 or 5-star hotel to me, and that's the pull factor. I read the quote from Nigel Farage to accompany that exclusive, what Nigel, the leader of Reform UK, said, and he made the point, of course, that this is just exacerbating the problem that people want to come to this country. You've now got this perverse situation where Nigel Farage is agreeing with Emmanuel Macron, the French president, who's saying that actually you've got to deal with the pull factors about why people want to come to Britain, because you can get a job, apparently you can now get, I've seen a story today that you're covering on Talk, Mike, that you can get perks such as days out on a dinghying included. There is lots of support. There's lots of support available, freebies, even if you only get £8 a day. The hotel bill is now at £6 million a day, and that is exacerbating the problem because people want to come to this country, and that's why I think what's going to happen over the next few weeks and months going into the autumn is you've already had Kemi Badenoch, the leader of the Conservatives, come out and say that we need to look at potentially camps where people could be housed, which are not 4-star hotels. We've then got to we're going to expect a policy announcement from Mr. Farage, which is going to be very similar. The problem that Keir Starmer has got is that if he goes down that route, he's going to face a major revolt from his own Labour backbenchers, who will say, you can't do this, it's against the human rights of these migrants. We can see, he could even put his position as Prime Minister in jeopardy, given the scale of the feeling. And you'll also see, you mentioned, a meeting of, leaders talking about the Ukraine. It will put in jeopardy his position on the international stage, because he likes being a statesman. He likes travelling around the world in this coalition of the willing. He likes the perks of coming out. But this situation at the moment suits the French, it suits the Germans, because the migrants are leaving Europe and coming to Britain. If he was to actually create the deterrent where they stay on mainland Europe because they're scared of being put in a camp or being deported, the Prime Minister were to resurrect eventually something similar to the Rwanda scheme, they would stay in Europe, and that would exacerbate the problem. And he would no longer be the friend of Friedrich Merz. He would no longer be the friend of Ursula von der Leyen or of Emmanuel Macron, because he would be exacerbating the problem in Europe. And that's the catch-22 that the Prime Minister finds himself in, is that actually to do the right thing by the people of Epping, by the people of Diss in Norfolk, and where these hotels are, to try and actually tackle the problem, he's going to end up upsetting Labour MPs and upsetting his allies in the European Union. And you just have to think back to when the last government looked at the Bibi Stockholm, the boat where it was going to be turned into...
that was horrendous, wasn't it? I mean, people...
And
were
they got an outbreak of Legionnaires'
like
disease.
this. Yeah,
and that was it. The whole thing had to close down. Can't do it.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody put Legionnaires' disease in there to make it worse than it actually was. I mean, because you've got... The problem with Keir Starmer is that he can't upset his friends in Europe, because at the end of the day, in his heart of hearts, he doesn't want to kick the migrants out. You know, some of his rhetoric lately is the kind of thing that he would have attacked massively if it had been said by a Tory as recently as 2 years ago, right? But have a look back at last week. This is what he said would happen to migrants if they came to this country illegally.
For the very first time, migrants arriving via small boat will be detained and returned to France in short order. In exchange for every return, a different individual will be allowed to come here via a safe route, controlled and legal, subject to strict security checks and only open to those who have not tried to enter the UK illegally. This will show others trying to make the same journey that it will be in vain, and the jobs they've been promised in the UK will no longer exist because of the nationwide crackdown we're delivering on illegal working, which is on a completely unprecedented scale.
Yeah, it's on such an unprecedented scale that a bloke who's got a TikTok account came on Saturday and was in a hotel by Sunday afternoon. So that, I'm afraid, once again, was a complete lie from Keir Starmer. He did not actually set up a system whereby people would be prevented from entering the country. He did not set up a system by which people were detained and then returned. He did not set up a system which made it impossible for people to come here and work illegally. He did none of those things. So therefore, that makes him a liar on about 5 counts, doesn't it?
Look, he's relying on creating... Keir Starmer wants to create a sense of jeopardy, right? He wants to create... If you're a migrant and you're on the north coast of France, and I'm just astounded when I look at those pictures that you've been playing out, how organised it is.
Yeah,
This is a scam.
No, we've described it before, you know, because the Daily Mail went over and many other journalists have gone over as well. And if you stand on the beaches of northern France on a morning of any weekday or any weekend, you basically see dinghy rush hour. You know, they bring them out one after the other, and people are waiting on the beach, as you can see them there, waiting in the shallows, and they clamber on. The sort of survival of the fittest, I guess, is people actually get on them, and then they get brought over here. But there's one after another. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you know, a whole selection of dinghies.
Frightening.
You know?
It's frightening how organised it is.
Yeah.
And what Keir Starmer wants to do is he wants to create an element of jeopardy in the minds of those who are thinking about crossing, that actually if they were to cross the English Channel, then they would be deported. But when you're talking about only deporting 50 a week, these people are prepared quite happily to take the chance. There's very little prospect of them being deported in a speedy way, and so they're quite happy to believe the gangmasters who are operating this racket. They're quite happy to believe the TikTokers who are posting videos of 4-star hotels, and we've seen other videos I know that have been obtained by Talk.
Yeah.
Because why would you believe Keir Starmer when you can see the evidence for yourself on social media with your phone of how good life can be in Britain? And there's a very small chance from their perspective that actually they'll find themselves removed back to Europe. And that's the problem, is that you actually, Keir Starmer and Yvette Cooper, for this scheme to be successful, they would need to get to the point at which 8 in 10 migrants are deported, so that they actually think, right, there's a chance, that there's a realistic, a very good chance I'm going to be deported. But we know we covered it last week, the loopholes that now exist. There's the European Convention on Human Rights. You could claim that you have there's a realistic chance of being tortured.
Right.
You could claim that you have a right to a family life. You could have thrown your passport or your mobile phone over the side, which would have any proof of your age, and you could claim that you're under 18, and there'd be no way for the authorities to prove otherwise, and therefore you wouldn't be eligible for this scheme. And it's fine if you're only trying to deport 50 a week, but actually what the government wants to do is to get to a situation where you could deport 200 or 300 a week.
Yeah, but
and it's not going to work.
The point is that they said they started last week, and they haven't deported anyone. So,
no, and they haven't made an announcement.
So they haven't made an announcement. They don't look as if they're going to deport anybody this week. We're already at Wednesday, right? Pretty soon it's going to be Thursday. It's going to be a week after they announced all this stuff was happening, and nothing's changed. And in fact, quite the reverse. These guys are now taunting us, coming here, filming it, putting it out on TikTok, watched by 1 million people. There's probably going to be 1 million of them all now come.
Yeah, and they'll all see the evidence, and the gangmasters, if they're trying to persuade anybody, well, who might be scratching their head and thinking, I don't really want to come to Britain, and say, well, have a look at this video of these guys in this 4-star hotel,
right?
And look how good life can be, and you can get a job for a delivery company, and you can work, and there's a very small chance that you might be caught, and if you are caught, you're not going to go to prison. You're just going to be released on bail and told not to do it again, and you might lose £8 a week, £8 a week in £50 a week in benefits. So, what's in it for not taking the chance and not coming to this country? But Keir Starmer doesn't have the political capital. It's worth just acknowledging the blocker on the other side are his own MPs. He doesn't have the political capital to get this over the line and to deal with the problem in an effective way by creating some sort of encampment like it's being suggested by the Tories or like is going to be suggested by Reform UK, because his Labour MPs will just revolt against that idea, and we'll see the challenges that go through the courts. And that's fundamentally...
Every one of those Labour MPs, by the way, should answer to their constituents who have got migrants in their constituency living in hotels, messing up the neighbourhood, and if they want to vote, in order to continue to do that, to continue to put these people into their constituencies, I think they should put their hands up and admit to it and tell the people that they represent, we're right and you're wrong. That's what they should do if they had any cojones whatsoever.
There will be some Labour MPs who are on very slim majorities in the north of England in those red wall constituencies who will support the Prime Minister. But you need to think about those MPs in London, in Birmingham, in Manchester, in built-up areas, in metropolitan districts, and particularly middle-class Labour, where they have a middle-class Labour voting constituency. They will be the ones who will revolt against any plan, if Keir Starmer finally buckles and actually introduces the changes that need to be made to stop this happening. And that is why he won't be able to get it over the line.
What an absolute shambles. Great to talk to you, Theo. Thank you very much indeed. Theo Usherwood there. Talking of the business of the economy, Sean from Bridlington says, I'm building an AI tech business. The people I employ are all self-employed and they are all overseas. No tax from them to pay in the UK. Well done, Rachel Thieves. Well done indeed. Let's get a voice note from Ken.
It's Ken from Lancashire. Just listening to the piece about the welfare state and the cost at the moment. I think we need a total reboot. We need to say to everyone who's on any benefit whatsoever, it will end in 12 months' time. You've got 12 months to find a job if you are supposedly looking for employment. And if you're on sickness benefit, you've got 12 months to get it absolutely qualified that you deserve the benefit, you need the benefit, and you can't go out and work and earn your own money. And at the end of the 12-month period, everything stops apart from those who've been reassessed and are entitled to benefits. Everything else stops.
Yeah, I think that's the only way. Somebody's got to get a grip of it. I've said this before, like they do in America. You get 6 months unemployment money if you lose a job. Guess what? People tend to find jobs within that 6-month period because they don't want to be left destitute and homeless. So they don't actually get caught out. They go and get another job. In this country, you just stay on the dole and don't bother. It's 9:25.
Are you doing that from memory?
Oh, yeah. could have been tried when Starmer came in, because they'd spent all that money, and it would have been some kind of way of saying to people, look, we don't really want you, and you're going to have to go back, and you're going to go to Rwanda if you're illegally landing in our country. But I think for me, the bottom line in all of this is that everyone who's arriving cannot be treated in a better way than we're treating our homeless people who are already on the streets. Many people are veterans, or people who are quite poor.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory, coming up to 29 minutes past 9. Donald McLeod coming in very shortly to give us his view on some of the big stories of the week, including, of course, the collapse of the hospitality business, not just north of the border in Scotland, but everywhere. Sue from Macclesfield says this: is the 38 billion Chagos farce excluded from the 50 billion? If not, then is it now? 88 billion. Utter lunacy. Well, who knows? I mean, it's hard to tell, isn't it? Guy says this: morning, Mike. If Rachel Thieves needs more cash, here's a double whammy. Tax the migrants on cash and benefits in kind. Tax benefit claimants at standard rates in the same way pensioners are taxed on pensions, and maybe just spend less. Absolutely right. Why not? Let's talk to Holly Whitbread, Conservative councillor for Epping West and rural Essex, of course, because we know that over there the Bell Hotel is still operating as a migrant hotel. The council have already asked the Home Office to decommission it and to close it down and no longer house migrants in it. But so far, I think they haven't really had much luck. So let's find out what the latest is. Holly, very good morning to you.
Good morning. Good. So we still haven't heard from the government, pretty much being completely ignored. So we now, as a council, have taken action against hotel owners via the High Court, via an interim injunction.
OK, so what does the injunction call for?
So the injunction calls for the closure of the Bell Hotel until a planning application goes in to be determined by the district council. Obviously, there's a significant change of use. This is no longer a functional hotel, and what we're arguing via the interim injunction is it is a big change of use, and a new application has to go in. We took legal advice previously, and it was looking like we weren't able to do this, but we've taken different advice, and we believe our case is strong, and we'll be doing everything within our power to try and push it through. But obviously, it's now up to the courts.
Yes, it's a very good manoeuvre, because I've seen, I've spoken to a couple of other local authorities around Britain, and they've also come to the same conclusion, that when you do change a hotel into what is effectively a multiple occupancy building, it's no longer a hotel, is it?
No, absolutely. And obviously we had the Bell Hotel open previously. It was reopened by the Labour government earlier this year for all males. But just before it was closed by the last government, an application had actually gone in for change of use, which never had to happen because the government cancelled the contract, and thankfully the hotel was closed. But this is something we've been investigating and working on in the background for quite some time. And we wish we could have brought it forward sooner, but obviously these legal discussions do take time. So hopefully the court will decide in our favour. Yeah,
that'd be good. And it's a long process, isn't it? When do you hope that you might get a hearing from a court?
Because it's an interim injunction, hopefully it'll be quicker than usual. I don't have an exact date, but we are hopeful it will be kind of weeks rather than months and months.
Right, OK. Oh, well, that's good. And in terms of the way that the local community is kind of coming together, we've seen many protests, and we've seen an awful lot of very peaceful protests there, and the protests presumably will continue until such time as you get what you want.
I believe so. I mean, largely the protests have now been peaceful. At the beginning, they were hijacked by particularly groups on the left who caused a lot of trouble originally, but also groups on the right as well. But they seem to be much more locally led, peaceful protests, which is good. But similarly, the council will continue to push through democratic and diplomatic means to do all we can to put pressure on the government to close the hotel.
Yeah.
You know, we're not going away. We want to be listened to, and certainly as a local councillor, I'm not going to let this one go.
No. And if they do close the hotel and you do win your case, which I hope you do, where will the migrants then go? Because the Home Office presumably, I mean, I've spoken to a couple of councillors who have said that Serco, for example, the people who are charged with housing many of these people in hotels can be quite difficult to deal with, and they'll sometimes go, all right, well, if you're going to do that, we'll just go and get another hotel and we'll go and put them in there.
Yeah, well, Epping Forest has actually already got 2 hotels within the district, so we've argued quite strongly that we've got more than our fair share, and we're having to pay the burden for this illegal immigration crisis. So it may be that the government move them elsewhere, and I'd be sorry for whatever community they move to, and obviously the government need to come up with a more efficient and effective solution to dealing with this crisis and really get a grip. But ultimately, as a council, it's our duty to stand up for our community. The hotel is completely untenable. You know, there's undocumented males within that hotel. People in our community feel unsafe, not to mention the disruption that has been caused by the action that people are quite rightly taking to try and get the hotel closed down. Yeah, absolutely. Well, we wish you well, Holly, with it. Thank you very much indeed for talking to us. Holly Whitbread, Conservative Councillor for Epping West and Rural Essex, because they have finally taken the bull by the horns, like a lot of people are starting to think about doing around the country, where if the Home Office doesn't want to play ball, you just take them to court and you say, look, perfectly within the law, you say this hotel is no longer a hotel. It's had its change of use and it hasn't really been approved for that by the local council and by local planning authorities, and so therefore it can't operate as a hotel anymore, and you shut it down. And that may well be the way forward. However, the question then is where do you put the people who are in it? Do you put them into another hotel? Do you put them into housing somewhere? How does it work? It's going to be a fascinating tussle, that one. We'll keep our eyes on it. It's coming up to 9:34. This from Neil, who says, a police commissioner encourages the public to tackle shoplifters, yet the young men who tackle the vile creature who exposed himself on a train are being threatened with arrest. Exactly right. Stephanie says, I love your show, but it makes me so angry. I have to tell my husband every morning, who drives in London for a living, it's not the migrants' fault, it's the government, because he's super angry and I worry he might react. Well, so many people are. That's the trouble. If Starmer wanted to create migrant camps but can't because of his own MPs, then he should send the migrants to the constituencies of those MPs who would vote against it and see how quickly they change their minds, says Vicky. And David, who's from Newcastle, says, I missed the first part of your show this morning, so you may have already called out Starmer's lie of the day. I'm a retired police officer and I joined my first neighbourhood team in 1996. How can he get away with such blatant lies? I know. It's a question I ask myself every single day. Coming up, Donald McLeod's going to be here. It's 9:35.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory. I'm Mike Graham. It's 9:37. 20 more minutes to go until Julia Hartley-Brewer comes in. The Morning Glory podcast, of course, will be out shortly thereafter, about 10:15, 10:30. I'm delighted to say, joining me in the studio now, Mr. Donald Cameron MacLeod of the Clan MacLeod. Very good morning.
Hello,
to you.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. It doesn't seem like that long since I saw you.
No.
Anyway, I don't know. I'm going home for a sleep after this before we come back to do. We'll do Plank of the Week later on. Let's talk about Scotland, though, because big news this week. Nicola Sturgeon suddenly emerges from her retirement, or whatever it is. She's got a new book out, right? And you've had your run-ins with her over time. I mean, you've been involved in politics in Scotland, you know, as a layman, I suppose, if you want, for a long time. I mean, when I first met you, you weren't an SNP supporter. Then you were, and now you're not.
I've always was.
Have you always been?
And then she destroyed it.
But she kind of destroyed it.
Absolutely destroyed it.
And now, of course, she's in the papers today saying she's thinking about moving to England.
That's hilarious, absolutely, right? Isn't it? I think she's only doing it because you pay less income tax down here than we do in Scotland, because, of course, she put the taxes up.
She put the taxes up. But she hasn't got any income, has she? She's got a job.
Oh, well, I mean, we get 300k there for that book deal.
For the book,
and you know, it's frankly a shocking sum for a book of misery and woe.
I know.
And, I just don't get it. I think she is one of the most toxic, divisive, polarising people out, and that was when she was in politics, and she's still that.
Yeah.
And it's
Are you disappointed in her? Because did you think that she would be better than that?
Well, I mean, she destroyed the spirit that was there in Scotland. There isn't a Scottish spirit, I don't think, that was there when Salmon was there, or even under, when Jack McConnell and all that was there. You know, Scotland is very divided. It's just there's an undercurrent of toxicity there that I blame her for, and her policies.
I mean, I see it on social media where you got the sort of the cyber nats, as they call them. You know, the people who want to see an independent Scotland, but who are really quite nasty about it to everybody else.
She destroyed her own party. You know, she'd attacked the guy that gave her the job. You know, Alex Salmon. She's still doing that. She's dancing on his grave. I think it's absolutely terrible. I mean, and now bringing the Queen into it as if there was a tittle tattle. But she's meant to be an arch Republican, and she loves the Queen. I mean, she's working her ticket. I'm sorry. There's a lot of people getting angry with it, and it's amazing how many people are not coming out in support of her book.
Of her book,
yeah. I'm not seeing it. You know, nobody's saying, "Oh, yeah, I think it's a great read. What a smart, what a great person." No, but they all went zip because. She's bringing out an awful lot of dirty laundry that she can't prove. I feel really sorry for Moira, Alex's widow. I mean, they're bringing up all this dirt when in fact he was proven innocent, and all the charges laid against him. You know, he actually got the expenses back at him. She's still bringing it up. I think that's not a nice person.
No. And I think she's proven by the way she's told some of the stories in the book as well, in some interviews, that she's kind of not a person that is not going to garner much sympathy or empathy. Let's have a look at what she said about her husband's arrest.
What was it like when you saw Peter being led away?
I don't really have a clear memory of that, because I think I'd gone upstairs to kind of get myself ready, and so I don't really...
But the idea of him being taken out of your family home by the police...
So I don't know, and I genuinely don't know whether the fact that I don't have a clear image of that in my head is because I didn't witness it, or that I have kind of somehow blocked it out. It wasn't until I got to my mum and dad's that I saw the pictures of my house looking like a murder scene, effectively.
So when your husband's getting arrested, you go upstairs, and he's obviously still an active case, so we don't talk about him too much, but you go upstairs and you don't see anything that's going on, and then by the time you come back down, he's been taken away, and
you can't remember it.
And you can't remember it.
Please pass a sick bucket.
I know.
Because I mean, that is vomit. That's up there with anything that Harry's done.
Yeah.
Or, it's absolutely... I can't explain it. I'm absolutely raging with it. Where's the 600 grand?
Right.
You know, that's all disappeared. But I wrote a few things down. She almost had a breakdown. Didn't. And I thank Alec Wilson's tweet for this. You know, this guy, Alec Wilson, good. She might be a lesbian, not sure. But she's ironing over the cracks in that one, I think.
Right.
Wanted independence, didn't get it. What happened to the 600 care, just asked? What happened to the care home deaths during COVID?
Right.
Not my fault. What about the rising drug deaths?
Right.
Not my fault.
Right.
What about the attainment gap? Worse than Europe?
Not her fault.
Not my fault. No. What about the ferry scandal? The cost quadrupling?
Yeah.
Nothing to do with me.
Nothing to do with her.
And
what about Isla Bryson, right? I've got a clip of that to show you, because this is the woman that kind of, or the man that kind of caused her downfall, the bloke in a dress who decided as a rapist that he should go to a women's prison because he'd get dressed as a woman. Have a look at this.
You became unstuck over the questions about the transgender prisoner, the rapist, Isla Bryson. Why couldn't you answer that question?
I think I was caught up in the...
Will you answer it now, whether you believe Isla Bryson was a man?
identified as a woman. I think what I would say now is anybody who commits the most heinous male crime against women probably forfeits the right to be, you know, the gender of their choice.
They forfeit to be the gender of their choice. That's quite... I mean, this actually goes to the heart of the difficulty around this.
That probably was not the best phrase to use, but
they forfeit their right to be the gender of their choice.
If you rape a woman, then I think you probably... The debate about whether they should be called a woman or not, probably...
Well, why don't you simply say then Isla Bryson is a biological male?
They are a biological male, but that's about whether it gets back into the self-ID thing. I should have been much more straightforward. I wasn't. But that's because of the debate. We'd lost all sense of rationality in this debate. I'm partly responsible for that.
Partly responsible? He went to prison in a women's prison. She made it sure that he stayed in the women's prison. Because she said he was a woman.
She is 100% responsible.
Right.
And it's on that basis that Scotland, you know, became more divisive, more polar, more very, very toxic debate where you can't even have an opinion on it, or you were branded a homophobe, or you're a transphobe,
or your
or whatever.
business would be shut down.
Exactly. Right? I mean, it's still going on.
That's the real danger, isn't it? That if you raise your head above the parapet on this debate, particularly in Scotland, you can be punished commercially for it.
Well, that's so true. The thing, and she does not put her hands up and say, "I'm sorry, I was wrong," in any of these points.
No.
And in this one, I would have more, respect for her if she stuck to her opinion.
Yeah.
You know, that's what having freedom of expression and opinion's all about. Stick to it.
Right.
You know, don't change it halfway through.
Right.
What was that? That was gobbledygook.
But also, she didn't quite make the leap, did she? She still couldn't say it.
She
still can't say,
bring
he's a bloke.
to say it.
He's a man. He shouldn't be in a women's prison.
Stop it. I mean, there was no problems about the whole trans issue in Scotland until she brought it to the fore.
Right.
There was none.
But was she also being pressurised by Patrick Carvey and the Greens and all those other people?
Well, who knows? But does she? I'm not going to read the book to see if that's the case, and maybe if it was, she wouldn't admit that anyway.
Right.
I mean, at the end of the day, she started this.
Yeah.
And we're all having to pay, you know, the damage has been immense.
Yeah.
I mean, there's people, there's Kate Forbes. She's now banned from...
she's now stepping down, isn't she?
Well, no, yesterday in the festival she was told not to go back to this venue in the festival where she spoke because of her views on women's rights.
Really?
And her feminist views, and because the staff felt threatened by her.
Unsafe.
They felt threatened by Kate Forbes. 5'2".
I mean, goodness me, it's ridiculous, isn't it?
And of course, just a wee bit of brevity. You know, of course, what Sturgeon's nickname was at school.
Wow.
Seaweed, because even the tide when they take it out.
Very good. Let's have a look at what she had to say about living with a woman. Check this out.
You write in the book, "I have never considered sexuality, mine own included, to be binary." What do you mean by that?
I mean what it says. It's just my view of the world and life and the way people are. If you're about to ask me, am I making some big revelation? No. Am I putting labels on myself? No. That's how I see the world.
Might we see you in a relationship with a woman?
I'm just out of a marriage, so I'm not rushing into a relationship with anyone anytime soon. I'm enjoying being my own person for a while.
But not ruling it out?
I'm not contemplating, sort of anything of that nature. I'm just enjoying life.
I mean,
it looks as if he's enjoying life there.
What does that even mean?
Honestly, just that. Who cares?
I don't care.
Do you care? I don't care.
No.
Nobody cares. You know, these days
Right.
we're all enlightened people. I don't care. I mean,
Right.
you know, and whether she's lesbian, whether she's bi, if she's a bloke, I don't
Doesn't
care.
matter. Yeah.
But why bring it? You know, why could you not just say it in plain English?
There's a kind of dishonesty about it, isn't
Yeah,
there?
it's all
That she
dishonest.
won't
She's
be
been
honest
dishonest
with
She-
us.
Well, she's been dishonest with the numbers and running the government.
Yeah.
You know, you know, you wouldn't admit to the ferries. That's 400 million when it was actually 97 that was put there. Denied all that. They even painted on windows.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Well, we'll get rid of the Nicola Sturgeon debate by
please.
finishing with this one of the greatest gaffes of all time by the BBC. Check this out.
Hello, this is Breakfast with Naga Manchetti and Charlie State.
It's 6:30, it's Friday the 14th of October. Let's tell you what's coming up on the programme. We're going to be joined by Scottish First Minister Nicola Sturgeon. We'll talk to her about plans for a second referendum on independence.
I'm sorry, we've very clearly run the wrong pictures of that particular sequence. My apologies there.
Genuinely BBC Breakfast a couple of years ago. Amazing. And
That's brilliant.
Jimmy Cranky. Anyway, meanwhile, up in Scotland, you've just had Oasis there, right? Having a go at various people, being accused of taking away, you know, the audiences from the Edinburgh Festival, and timing it all wrong and all that kind of thing. It's not really their fault, is it?
No. Of course not, and I mean they put on 3 stonking shows.
Yeah.
I mean 210,000
Were they all at Murrayfield?
people. What? Sorry?
Were they all at Murrayfield?
Yes, all at Murrayfield, and yeah, absolutely raked it in.
Yeah.
I mean, the bar sales I think were like 2 million a day or something like that.
It's been quite a machine.
But now you're getting obviously people in the festival saying it's their fault that nobody came to their shows.
Nobody came to their shows. Yeah.
No, it's your fault because you're rotten.
You're not funny enough, or whatever it is.
You're absolutely garbage. And
but you kind of started Oasis off, didn't you? I mean, you
I
gave
didn't
them.
say, no, I never claimed to that, but I was there at the beginning.
But you were there at the beginning. You did Loch Lomond the same year.
Loch Lomond. We did
Nebworth.
the Cat House, for God's sake. You know, and I Am the Walrus was recorded there.
Right.
Their version of it.
Right.
And we did Braehead. We did Irvine Beach. We did the last Murrayfield.
Yeah.
And I say we because it was Mark Mackey and Paul Cardo were my partners.
Well, you put them on because I saw them with you in Hampden Park as well.
That's right. We did Hampden.
I can't remember what year
we
that
did
was.
tons of them. We did Aberdeen, the exhibition centre twice up there. So yeah, it was sad not to be part of this, but Live Nation had basically taken control of it around the world and chucking a lot of money at it. A very good investment from their point of view, but you know, I'm not going to look back in anger on that one. And, but there has been collateral damage. That's to be the truth there, where people, you know, they're spending fortunes.
But this is like, this is the thing. It's like people like Taylor Swift and all these, you know, these huge bands and these huge artists that come and they kind of suck the air out of everything else, don't they?
Yes, and that's it. So people don't have money to go to smaller festivals. Other gigs have been very, very choosy. But I'm not going to bring the festival into that. If you're going to the festival, you're going to the festival, and the festival's still doing very, very well. But I did hear that numbers are lighter. Some of the big sites at night, and that's been the same with a lot of the smaller festivals. You know, we put one on in Linlithgow, Party of the Palace, brilliant, but there was a drop in sales, and you know, it's really down because the following weekend Oasis are playing. You know, we'll skip that one. We'll skip the 60 quid one, but we'll spend the 600 quid to go and get tickets for that.
I know. And meanwhile, you're still running the garage. You're still in the hospitality business, which you wrote about the other day, or there was a piece, wasn't there, from the Licensed Traders Association, saying that so many businesses are just threatening to shut down.
Well, I wrote about it last week and saying, you know, Starmer must go, Reeves must go, and I really am appalled by the lack of support from them and the lack of support for the Scottish Government for the Scottish licensed trade. And I mean, it's getting cut to pieces. I mean, there's 70% of the respondents in the latest poll were facing either closure or they're going to go under.
Or they're going to get rid of a load of people, right?
Closure, or they're nearly going under.
Right.
And, you know, it's calling it brutal.
Yeah.
You know, and it is brutal because of the cost of the national insurance going up, employers' national insurance, wages going up. It's unsustainable.
Yeah.
And
the cost of everything going up as well, right?
Well, that's it. The supply costs are going up, so your jobs, the jobs are getting lost. I think it was 108,000 jobs have been lost since Reeves brought out our budget.
Yeah.
And where's the support?
Right.
Nothing. You know. Whereas I've got some figures here actually. 108,000 hospitality jobs lost. 1,122 pubs in the UK have had to pull their shutters down,
right? And
including retail, a staggering 50,000 firms are now reported to be on the brink of collapse.
Yeah.
I
was saying this, you know, my kids even just down in the southeast of England, who would normally get a job in a pub or a job somewhere in the summer, couldn't get one. Neither one of them. One of them's gone to America to work, and he's got plenty of work over there. But
he couldn't get one because there's no pubs there.
No, because there's no jobs going. Because anywhere, and in fact, my son who works at the Ritz in Manchester, he's had his shifts cut back because they've got quite a lot of people to employ.
Manchester, the booming nighttime economy.
It's booming, but still they're having to cut because they're spending more money on more shifts for people.
And that's what, you know, Starmer's saying. What he said. What he was saying, he promised support, he promised help, he promised change, he's promised to back business.
Yeah.
All they've done is deliver betrayal, as far as I'm concerned. You know, and they really need to go. They're mucking up the whole economy, and it's not just night. You know, it's not just night licensed trade. It's retail, everything. In Scotland, we're feeling it even more again because we're taxed more.
Yeah. Which is mad. A couple of messages for you. Nicky Negham says, I'm just eating my breakfast. Can't we have some warning before talking about Nicola Sturgeon's sex life, please? And Mark says, the SNP self-imploded as soon as they got into bed with the Greens. No voter votes for a coalition government ever. I think that's right. And one from Bill in Cheshire. Salmon's gone. Sturgeon's gone. Swinney may as well have gone. Now that the EU are busted flush and there's no point in rejoining it, the SNP is no longer relevant. What's the point of it?
No, it's relevant. They've still got a lot of support for independence in polls, but that's not actually We'll wait and see. Next May is the Scottish elections.
Yeah.
We'll see what's happening then.
That's going to be really interesting for reform, isn't it?
I am now feeling totally disenfranchised. Who do I vote for?
Yeah.
There's nobody out there, as far as I'm concerned, representing the interests of my trade, my business, me.
Right.
Nobody. Yeah. It's just lie after lie. They're all the same as each other at the moment, and that's really sad. And if I'm feeling that way, I'm sure there's an awful lot of other people, and even the youth. Who do the youth vote for?
Yeah, right.
You know, the new your first-time voters. Where would they go?
Yeah.
There's nobody making real hard promises that they can deliver on at the moment. Hopefully
it's a shambles. It's a mess. Unfortunately, it's all true, but it keeps us in business anyway, unfortunately, because we have to report on it.
It's
Donald,
great for you guys.
Good to see you. We'll see you this afternoon for a bit of Plank of the Week. This is Morning Glory. It's coming up to 5 minutes to 10. We'll be back after this.
The British people, as I said, have reached a point where they're going, I'm sorry, enough is enough. The indigenous population in this country, whether people like this or not, are 28th in the queue. And when you pay your taxes, and when you live your life correctly, you don't break the law, and when you think that, you know, I'm trying to bring up my kids and put food on the table, and I'm being ostracised, and I'm being forced to feel like a third-rate citizen, and that's when you need something to happen. And what I find astonishing, and of course, Reform, your partner, Richard Tice, they've managed to grab the mood of the electorate.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory. I'm Mike Graham. It's very nearly 2 minutes to 10, and you know what that means. It's time for Julie Hartley-Brewer, who's here.
I'm done.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I've got this. I know you were talking about this yesterday, but I've just had a thing handed to me about all the things you can do to save water at home.
Don't.
Fix a leaking toilet, install a rain butt, use water from the kitchen to water your plants, avoid watering your lawn.
Avoid watering your lawn.
Turn off the taps when brushing your teeth. Take shorter showers. I heard you saying I'm not taking a shorter shower.
I'm a grown-up. I'll take a shower as long as I want.
The weirdest one, though, is delete your old emails.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
But that's because water's using...
What are they pouring? I mean, I thought it's supposed to be high-tech.
Water's a cooler for all the...
But it's supposed to be high-tech, and they're just pouring water on a machine.
Sort of, but not really. It's a cooling agent.
Yeah, see, I don't get that.
No, but I don't. The whole thing, mate, the whole thing is...
Bonkers,
or when it rains, you can collect the water. They want us to collect water in rain, but why didn't you build... This is an amazing idea.
Why don't they collect it?
Why do you build some reservoirs?
Yeah.
And then and all this beautiful green land.
Or
and
some
then
pipes that don't leak, even.
That might be an idea. 20% of water disappearing. Anyway, yes. Well, anyway, also like our borders that leak. At 50,000, it's official. Yeah. Channel migrants arriving under Labour. And the fascinating fact that they're smashing the gangs, but the arrests of smuggling gang members has gone down significantly.
Also,
since
we played another one of